Oh, hi. Just came from downstairs where we have our accountants at the Majority Report. And they were telling me what the situation is with YouTube. And we wanted to update you as to why we still need your support on our Patreon page. And that's because some of you are seeing ads in front of our YouTube videos. And it's true. Some of them have come back. As you know, back in March now, I guess, or April, our ad placement was completely wiped out. We had basically 10% of our views were getting ads, whereas it used to be in March, in February, and January, closer to 65 to 75% of our views were getting ads. Well, some of those ads have come back, and it's true of some other channels as well, but not nearly as many as we had before. And on top of that, the type of ads that we're getting have a much lower CPM. So in other words, we're getting less ads on our videos, and the ads we are getting, we're getting less money for. And that's why we're continuing our Patreon account. We don't know if this is the new normal. And frankly, YouTube is not inclined to tell us. We're not the biggest channel. I don't even know if the biggest channels are being told as to what the new normal is, but this appears to be it. So where we got $1 3 months ago, we're now getting about 40 cents. That's better than getting a dime, but we are still needing your support. So you can head over to our Patreon channel, or maybe you're at our Patreon page rather now, but either way, give a couple of bucks a month, and that would really help us continue producing as many videos as we do on a daily basis. And we want to produce more, frankly. We were geared up to do so, and then, well, so now it's not necessarily an ad apocalypse. It's more of like an ad sort of apocalypse. Thanks for your support. Really appreciate it.
The way you used to do. This love mental disease, a lucky fever dream, fine with either. Take that to monsters who will terrorize normalcy.
Majority Report with Sam Seder, where every day's Casual Friday. That means Monday is Casual Monday, Tuesday, Casual Tuesday, Wednesday, Casual Hump Day, Thursday, Casual Thurs, that's what we call it, and Friday, Casual Shabbat. The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
It is Friday, August 11th, 2017. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 4-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America downtown Brooklyn, USA. Oh, it's Casual Friday, but of course, in this era, can you ever be fully casual again? No, says Kelly. Nevertheless, joining us for this Casual Friday, Cliff Schecter will be here via the telephone. Also, surely not to be too terribly casual about her feelings on the ongoing Trump administration, Judy Gold will be with us.
Nice.
Via phone.
Nice.
Meanwhile, Trump doubles down on North Korea. What could possibly be the end game? And coincidentally, Robert Mueller squeezing Manafort. China tells North Korea you're on your own, but also tells the United States, if you strike first, we will stop you. As South Korea and U.S. will stage their already planned military exercises later this month. And if that wasn't enough, 2016, hottest year on record. Congratulations, folks. Congress now running out of time on the debt ceiling. And the White House at war with, among other nations, cultural Marxism, ladies and gentlemen. There are worker shortages in California on the farms as ICE continues to destroy families. And Andrew Cuomo's 2020 dreams really, really need to die. And ladies and gentlemen, we've hit peak conservative aggrievement. It's now been achieved with pictures of the Statue of Liberty. All this and more on today's program, ladies and gentlemen. Really don't know. Cliff and I will talk about North Korea, so I don't want to get too much into that. But really is, I've had to text my daughter today, who is now freaking out because of the potential for World War III, and I don't know. I'll talk more about that with Cliff, but it's, it's tough to provide. All I could think of was the last time I tried to comfort her. I said, there's no way Donald Trump is going to win. And I don't know if I necessarily believed that then, and I don't necessarily believe it now if I was to tell you there wasn't going to be World War III. But we should mention, because we haven't really covered this as much. I mean, I've top-lined it. But there seems to be a full-court press on Paul Manafort right now. And it seems not only, it seems to be fairly broad. In other words, it's not just potential financial irregularities that have a direct bearing on the Trump campaign. There were pre-existing investigations of Manafort before Robert Mueller came aboard, ones that came out of the Southern District of New York's office. And in recent weeks, it was reported by Bloomberg that Mueller's team of investigators have sent subpoenas to global banks for account information and records of transactions involving Manafort and some of his companies, as well as those of his longtime business partner, Rick Gates. Special counsel has also reached out to other business associates, including Manafort's son-in-law and Ukrainian oligarch. And a Ukrainian oligarch, according to one of the people who provided information to Bloomberg. And on Thursday, Manafort spokesperson announced he was retaining a new law firm, Miller and Chevalier. To replace Wilmer Hale. Wilmer Hale's attorney that he had was a specialist in congressional investigations. At Miller Chevalier. His new attorneys are criminal defense attorneys with an expertise in financial crimes. So, you know, coming from a family of lawyers, I don't begrudge anybody for getting legal representation, but it just gives you a sense of his state of mind as to what he's going to need going forward.
That's what he said. That's what I said. That's obviously what our position is.
There you go. And this switch comes after the FBI raided his home last week. There's also reports that apparently congressional investigators want to talk to Donald Trump's personal secretary. There is a theory floating around out there that Mueller's plan is to get Manafort on a range of criminal activities and then say, here's your option, sir. Federal penitentiary, or you start telling us a little bit more about your former boss. And there's also, you know, one piece of commentary that I read that, you know, I mentioned only because it has stuck with me. I mean, at this point, there's no doubt that if Mueller wanted to get Donald Trump's tax returns, he could. And maybe he already has them. You know, I imagine to the extent that we hear leaks coming out of, if we do, out of Mueller's team, it's when they want us to hear the leaks. So they very well could have the tax returns. And, you know, I've been thinking about the tax returns lately as to why, like, you know, the IRS has been looking at the tax returns, and they're quite expert, I would imagine, at looking at these things. And if there were improprieties there, they probably would have found them. Maybe just the fact that he was, maybe it's just that he's not, doesn't have the money, he says, and it's just embarrassing, but it's not illegal. Maybe to the extent that they found any discrepancies or issues over the years, maybe there were other agencies. I mean, you know, I'm only saying this in the sense that, like, Felix Seder, right, we know is an asset of the CIA and the FBI. I mean, this is not in dispute. Loretta Lynch wrote a letter on his behalf. Maybe there was sort of like discrepancies that were basically investigations into those were shut down because they somehow involved the CIA or FBI out of different offices doing various things. Who knows? I mean, Seder worked for Trump. If you wanted to get some resources and to track that those resources, maybe that's a good way to send it somewhere. Maybe with anti-terrorism stuff. I don't know. But one thing I read was that often in cases that both involve national security and criminal investigators, that they may find something out that via national security apparatus that they don't want to expose that they have this apparatus. And so then they spend the rest of the time trying to reprove it through other means. So who knows? But that just stuck with me. Meanwhile, maybe doing Hayes tonight. I don't know. I got bumped. I was going to do hardball last night. Got bumped.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, no, he doesn't have me on when he's hosting.
Seder's getting bumped. Buck Seder, I bumped him at the last minute.
But fortunately,
oh my God, Melania! Jesus
fortunately,
Christ, that revelation.
Fortunately, I did not. I didn't shave before I got the word. I will shave when I head home today because Mila's got a recital. It's in the city, so if I get called, I got to be fully shaven. How do I shave? Well, you know. Do I need to even tell you this? It's Harry's. You know, for decades, there has been one big razor company, not going to say the name, not going to say it. He also ruined the Patriots, that guy, Victor Kaya. Has relentlessly increased prices and reaped immense profits at the expense of its customers. So two ordinary guys, Jeff and Andy, real names. They were fed up with getting ripped off. They started Harry's to fix shaving. Harry's knew there was only one way to ensure equality, so they bought their own blade factory. They take less profit, and they sell directly to you over the internet, so they can offer the blades at half the price, just $2 a blade, compared to the $4 or more you'll pay at the drugstore. It has been so long since I bought one of those crappy razors from the drugstore. If you had told me they don't even sell them there anymore, I'd believe you. You know what I love about Harry's? The fact that I don't have to go and buy those crappy razors at the drugstore anymore. I like the look of the handle. And I was very excited about the narrower shave head so that I could do a little more precision work around the nostrils. Yep. Harry's is so confident you're going to love their blades. They're giving you a trial set for free. Just cover shipping. Your free trial set includes a weighted ergonomic razor handle, 5 precision-engineered blades with lubricating strip and trimmer blade, rich lathering shave gel, and a travel blade cover that's a $13 value for you to try. Stop messing around and get started shaving with Harry's today by claiming your free trial offer. $13 value for free. You just cover shipping to get your free trial set, including razor handle, 5-blade cartridge, and shave gel. Go to harrys.com/majority report right now. That's harrys.com/majority report. I'm going to take a quick break. What's that? Oh, yeah. Just a reminder, trademark BS, or the Michael Brooks show, as some people call it,
or too much BS,
is...
I want it to be the most BS.
The mostest BS is now available via iTunes, the free version of that program. So make sure you head over to iTunes, sign up, get the feed, as we call it in the biz.
Write a review.
The podcast.
You'd be so kind.
Feed. Yeah, write a review. And while you're over there in iTunes, give a review for the Majority Report, too. Go. It's a double shot. Once you open up that thing, you might as well
just knock out
do a couple.
Of reviews. There's already two 5-star
Already two
reviews?
5-star reviews. People loving it so far.
People have been saying great
I'm going to
things.
go on and I'm going to review it with 5 stars, and no one's holding me hostage, and I didn't lose a bet.
Second bet won.
Kelly loves it on her own accord.
Kelly loves it of her own accord. Also, thank you for the first $4.93 on Patreon. The post game is already up, and then on Sunday, the Third Way History Primer is set to go and will be released for members. So thanks, everybody.
I look forward to that.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Cliff Schecter. We are back. Sam Seder on the Majority Report. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, there was a simpler time where Fridays were actually a little bit more casual, a little bit more, I want to say lackadaisical, but they were certainly a little bit more carefree. Now, each week, it's a different form of anxiety that we have. And many of you have commented how you have found the only thing that soothes that anxiety at the end of the week is the dulcet tones of Jimmy Reefercake singing this little ditty.
Cliff Schecter, Libertas LLC. New media, public relations, and strategy. You want any of these services, you know who you gotta see. Cliff Schecter, Libertas LLC.com.
Hello, Cliff. How are you?
Hello, Sam, or as Jeff Lord would say, Sieg Heil.
Yes, Zig Heil. Oh, yes. We won't have Jeff Lord to kick around anymore. Although, to be honest with you, I think the fact that I hadn't thought about Jeff Lord in several months suggests to me that CNN was looking to get rid of some extra baggage and decided to misinterpret his little joke as opposed to all the other, more, I think,
the things he really said,
repulsive
like Donald Trump
things.
being the Martin Luther King of healthcare. I like that one. That was crafty.
Yeah, I mean, and he said a lot of like really repugnant things about race and whatnot. So,
he just was such a. I mean, the thing is too, he just was a waste of space. I mean, there's only so many people who can go on and theoretically help people understand politics. I know they're not really out to do that. Zucker isn't, but it's like there was no point in watching the guy because he made no sense and he just was going to defend anything Trump did ever. It was just so stupid. But CNN has chosen to go that path in some ways. Maybe they're making up for it now. I don't know.
Well, they're not making up for it.
It's fun to see him get fired. Well, yeah, they've got a long way to go. But it's fun to, even if they're trying, but it's fun to see him get fired just because he's kind of an a-hole. So we can enjoy that.
Yes. He made a lot of money being basically a mouthpiece for Donald Trump. But I guess when Donald Trump, you stopped hearing him say, like, I like what Jeffrey Lord's doing. And so that was the problem. All right. Well, let's move on to the other more pressing problem. And that is that Donald Trump has doubled down on his North Korea rhetoric. He's
locked and loaded now.
He is locked and loaded, according to his Twitter feed. And,
does he basically just get all of his lines towards North Korea from Lethal Weapon movies?
Well, it's possible.
It kind of feels that way, or Die Hard,
Yeah, he's, and it's unclear whether or not he's off the reservation. I mean, there is definitely people in the White House who are telling him this is the way to go and that this is the way to win. Now, it's unclear to me what constitutes winning. If they actually think that North Korea is going to give up its nukes to the extent that they have them at this point, and I have to say this, I was publicly in favor of intervention in Libya. I was not for regime change, but I was in favor of bombing to protect people in Benghazi when the UN had voted that there was an imminent threat of mass slaughter. And, I think lesson learned, but what really is in clear focus now is that if you are Kim Jong-un and you see what happened to Muammar Gaddafi after he gave up his nuclear program. 3 years later, he's gone. There's no way you as a rational, he's a rational human being, or even if you're slightly irrational and you're just able to tie your shoes, could come to the conclusion like the best thing for me to do is to give up my nukes. That's not going to
If
happen.
you're just rational enough to want to live. I mean, that's really the base level of rationality you need. Because we did the same thing with Saddam Hussein, who was starting to let inspectors in, and then we went and ended his existence. If you're any of these guys, you know, why would you? No, the motivation would be to build up more nukes. Frankly, that's what we've done with the last two Republican administrations. You know, well, and let's throw in what happened with Obama too. I mean, you know, I don't think it's right away you can say I was wrong. You know, those are situations that are much harder to figure out. You know, when it's civil wars and there's nothing we can do about it between two groups, that's a different story. When there is an armed group, a militia or military, you know, who are descending upon a civilian population to commit genocide or mass murder of some sort, you do kind of want to prevent that, right? I mean, we are supposed to be good human beings.
Particularly,
so,
I mean, for me,
it's not easy.
For me, it was that the UN voted on it, right? There's no, I think, objective standard for something like that where you don't have parties who don't have an interest in it. And, you know, to have the entire Security Council vote in that way, I think was a boost for internationalism, but they went beyond the mandate. But, I mean, look, the bottom line is that is the lesson learned there. And it's clear there are people in the White House who are telling Donald Trump that there's some way to win this. And here's one of them. This is Sebastian Gorka, the guy who was a Breitbart contributor 7 months ago, and that was basically the pinnacle of his career. And here he is in an interview with the BBC, clearly at war with Rex Tillerson and God knows who else in the administration that's advocating dialing back the rhetoric.
Right.
What must the trigger be? General Mattis seemed to be suggesting that American action would come in the event of a North Korean attack rather than out of the blue. Sebastian Gorka is Deputy Assistant to the President on the line to Washington. I asked him what the red line was that the North Koreans could not cross.
You should listen to the President. The idea that Secretary Tillerson is going to discuss military matters is simply nonsensical. It is the job of Secretary Mattis, as Secretary of Defense, to talk about the military options. And he has done so unequivocally today. He said, "Woe betide anyone who militarily challenges the United States," and that is his portfolio, that is his mandate. Secretary Tillerson is the chief diplomat of the United States, and it is his portfolio to handle those issues.
But are you telling me, though, Mr. Gorka, that if there is an action by North Korea that is felt by the United States to be threatening, then that is war? Is that the understanding that the North Koreans should have?
If you threaten a nation, then what should you expect? A stiffly worded letter to be sent by courier? Is that what the UK would do if a nation threatened a nuclear-tipped missile launched against any of the United Kingdom's territory?
I mean, there's a bit of a sleight of hand there too, right, though? I mean, the BBC guy said a threat that's interpreted by the United States, as opposed to, you know, one that is clearly a threat, I guess.
Donald Trump interprets, you know, sneezing in his direction as a threat. I mean, the guy, you know, I mean, in all seriousness, he's so into the whole macho BS because of his deep insecurities. There are a whole lot of things that he sees as personal threats that are not threats to the United States. That right away becomes a problem. And then you throw in there his lack of understanding, seemingly, of what nuclear war does, or anything close to that. But, I mean, you know, even the person here who's delivering the message, I mean, how is it that we're saying we're not going to allow all sorts of people in this country, but we still have Sebastian Gorka here? Can you answer that one?
No.
I mean, this guy is such an absolute jackass. You know, the whole thing when it comes to, it'll be nonsensical. I mean, he can't really go on TV. I've never seen him. Thankfully, I've seen him very few times. He go on without just being a jackass to whoever it is he's talking to. I mean, he literally has to be one of the least likable people I've ever heard. And of course he lied about his college. I mean, whatever. It's a Trump administration. It's not tough.
Well, but what possibly could be the end game here? I mean, I can understand. Well, I mean, look, the Chinese have now said, North Korea, if you initiate an attack, and the South Koreans and the United States return, we will not intervene. But they've also said that if South Korea or United States attack, that we will intervene on behalf of the North Koreans there. And
right.
I mean, I guess it's possible they believe at this point that somehow this posture will convince North Korea to give up its nukes. But I mean, that seems like
they really believe that?
Well, I find it hard to believe that they believe it, but I find it hard to believe that they believe a lot of things, frankly.
I mean, can they all be that stupid? I could see Trump being that dumb. But I mean, can they all really be that stupid? I mean, maybe you're right. It's really hard to know with these people what the end, because North Korea is not going to give up their nukes. So the end game either is they end up looking stupid for even trying that, or we get into a nuclear war.
Here's the other theory I have about this. I mean, look, we don't the level of information that we seem to have as to the progress that North Korea has made, specifically that they have now a nuclear weapon that is small enough to travel in a ballistic missile, comes from the Defense Intelligence Agency. I haven't heard of any other agency specifically that has made this point. There is another intelligence agency that's referenced in claiming that they have something about 60 of these weapons. But it's unclear what that agency is from the reporting I've seen. And maybe that reporting has been updated. But the DIA certainly has a record of reporting threats that don't exist. A. And B, this is a report that supposedly was issued several weeks ago by the DIA. Right. And Donald Trump only brought it up while he was at Bedminster, in between golf rounds, the day after Paul Manafort's, the reports of Paul Manafort's raid come up.
Right.
Now, I'm not one of those people who always think that he's trying to change the subject. And I think, look, I am also believe that, we should be paying more attention to North Korea right now than Paul Manafort, because that situation's far more precarious. And I don't know what...
And the FBI seems to have the Paul Manafort situation handled.
Well, that's the thing, is I don't understand, what, but it seems to me that Donald Trump, maybe he's just anxious, and so he comes off and he shoots off the hip and he says this, and now he can't back down from it. And he says, oh, wow, this is drawing attention. I might as well keep doing it, which is probably the most likely explanation. But yeah.
I think it is. He doesn't seem smart enough. Again, I think people give him way too much credit. Oh, he's changing the subject. He's not smart enough to do that. He doesn't plan anything.
Well, he may be changing the subject, but it's irrelevant. Like you say,
the best
that's not going to affect
Mueller. How long Fox and Friends has been over and what he just watched. Because with most of this stuff, like when he tweeted out that crazy stuff about opioids, they just called opioids a national emergency on Fox and Friends 10 minutes earlier. I mean, that's what feeds most of what he does. It's what he was just watching.
Well, let me just make one counter argument to the idea that, look, he could be saying something about North Korea to divert attention from Manafort, even if that is a stupid thing to do. And he could, in his, whatever addled mind, he could be thinking I got to come up with something else to talk about. I'm not dating somebody. I can't pretend I'm dating a model. Let's see. Oh, I know, North Korea. And here is Stuart Varney. Yes, I know we're scraping the bottom of the barrel, folks. But here is Stuart Varney, sort of, these things, you never know where these things start. But here he is on Fox Business, sort of beginning to make the outlines of this. You can't criticize the president in a time of a crisis of his own making. Here it is. News
Has
Update.
there ever been a time when the two parties have been as divided as they are now? Has there ever been a time when this country needs unity as much as it needs it now? Let's start with the Democrats. Senators Feinstein and Schumer sharply criticized the president over the language he used on North Korea. Think about this. A rogue foreign power armed with a nuke and a missile delivery system directly threatens to attack America, and the left objects to the president's tone. Ben Rhodes, the architect of President Obama's appeasement policy, calls Mr. Trump a liar. You'd think we'd come together at a time like this, but no. Internally, Senators Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth
They
Warren
spelled
have
divided wrong on the parties. Divdid.
It's divdid.
Just like to point out that that's my specialty to notice.
There you go.
It's
Yeah,
divdid.
Kelly's
You did a great job.
It's
The
total
core brand.
Divdid. Everything's divdid.
It's total divdid.
This is,
Wait, did you guys play this thing and I just couldn't hear it? Or
okay, no, go ahead. We'll play it
waiting
now. Oh, all right, here you go.
a time like this, but no. Internally, Senators Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren have divided the Democrats over abortion, socialized medicine, energy, and the endless tax the rich idea. That is a pretty big division. As for the Republicans, well, where do you start? The Senate Republican leader openly criticizes the Republican president. Republican John McCain returns to D.C. just in time to sink the Republican health care plan. And if you think there is agreement among Republicans on tax reform, dream on. Is there an adult somewhere in Congress on either side of the aisle who will stand up and say, enough? Obamacare is collapsing and millions are hurting. Fix it. We need economic growth. Get tax cuts done. A lunatic with a nuke is threatening an attack. Unite against him.
Well, I think, to be fair, both parties have criticized Trump. So, but I
It's
mean,
all just as easy as Stuart Varney makes it out.
well, but my point is that, you know, look, Varney is one of those guys who's mouthpiece for the Trump administration, and if
And
this
for
is
hedge fund wealth, basically.
yes, but I mean, I'm saying if this is the narrative that he wants to create, right? That like this North Korea thing is a crisis. You shouldn't be attacking the president. Then at least there's some awareness or some opportunism in the White House around this. So it just strikes me as I just can't figure out how they think this is going to end. Right? I mean,
But that's why I don't believe that it was thought about. I believe that it was something that Trump was watching or was put in front of him, and with like big cartoonish pictures or whatever, and he off the cuff tweeted something obnoxious in his usual stupid faux bravado way, and then they because this is the way it always goes with him. It's not their plan, and then they all have to adjust to whatever it is he said, kind of like with the banning trans in gender people in the military, where he hadn't talked to anybody about it. He just sort of sent out a tweet because that's what he felt like doing, because I'm sure he'd seen something on TV. I mean, it's the way he always does stuff. It doesn't really matter if it's a matter of national security that could lead to nuclear war, or it's a matter of discrimination against a group of people. He just tweets out whatever the hell he feels like and whatever he just was watching. And so then they all have to adjust and try to say, no, that was serious. He meant to say Kofebe. That was planned,
right?
And everybody, I mean, that has been the pattern over and over again with these guys. So I think he's basically just created a crisis out of nothing.
Well,
and they're all adjusting, and some of them want to sound tougher, and and then Lindsey Graham plays the usual role of Lindsey Graham and talks about nuclear war, and other people try to say this is crazy and back away from it, and everybody falls into their roles.
Well, I'll tell you, Lindsey Graham has made the point repeatedly that some type of war, military action against North Korea, basically is, the costs are all going to be borne by the North Koreans. Here's an example of, on the Sean Hannity show, retired U.S. Air Force Lieutenant General Thomas McNerney. I don't know if he's a Fox News contributor type guy, but is he? Yeah, here he is basically arguing like, look, casualties not so much an issue because it's just going to be them.
Get this one, Sean. Declare any missile launches from North Korea have to be, we say, are hostile because of what Kim Jong-un said about attacking Guam, and we will hit them as a target before they get airborne. He must make sure that we will no longer tolerate that he launch any more missiles because of his declaration to hit Guam, and we don't know where they're going to go until they've been in the air for a while. So we have no choice. And by the way, if one artillery round comes out of North Korea onto Seoul, he gets our full nuclear retaliatory capability. Make sure he understands that. That artillery is no longer valid because when we retaliate, we're going to retaliate with nuclear weapons.
But when I say no good option, and I want to get to General Patterson in a second, when I say no good option, if we have to strike, even if we have a coalition of the willing, if we have to strike, we're going to incinerate that place. The nuclear fallout, correct me if I'm wrong, even if we'd use, bunker bombs and other technologies, is the fallout potential is dramatic. I mean, potentially, am I right or overstating the fact that millions could potentially die here?
Yeah, but they'll be mostly North Koreans.
What about South Koreans? What about the Japanese? What about nuclear fallout making its way to China?
You can contain that. Look how many.
How do you contain nuclear fallout, though? How do you do that?
Well, you contain it with air bursts and the size of the weapons. Look how many weapons we dropped on Japan. Then we were in there weeks later.
Okay,
I'm not saying it's not going to be a problem, but it's a problem that we can handle compared to the nuclear weapons hitting U.S. cities.
So, but they're going to be North Koreans. So
remember
the problem we have with this guy too is how he represses his own people, right? That's
right. So we should just murder them all. It's easier for them. You know that when Sean Hannity is the voice of reason in any broadcast, you've entered a screwed up place. I mean, seriously, Sean Hannity actually was sounding reasonable there. This guy's a sociopath, clearly, who doesn't care. And again, I'm not a military guy, but I don't know what the hell he's talking about. I have actually studied science and stuff. I'm not sure where he thinks that the fallout is going to be contained, and somehow is not going to reach South Korea and is not going to reach Japan. Not to mention the fact that what is he talking about? Even when we nuke them, they've got these artillery bunkers deep in the mountains, basically not very far from Seoul and overlooking it. I mean, if we have nuclear weapons headed in their direction, if they just unload everything on Seoul, and I'm not saying, killing that many North Koreans isn't unacceptable or any, because it is, unless it were a last-ditch attempt to defend ourselves. But I mean, to pretend that people there's not going to be mass killing of people in Seoul is ridiculous. I mean, I don't know, man. Where do they find these people?
I don't, it's where do these people, who's listening to these people is what's the really scary part in my mind. But
and that's Trump, because he's watching Hannity if he's not on it, and that's where he's learning his stuff from. If it's not Fox and Friends, it's Hannity.
That raises, there was a release today, I mean, just to sort of pivot into the type of people surrounding Donald Trump. There was a release today of the National Security memo, from the National Security Council. Those guys who got fired, it was Higgins and that other guy, Watkins something. And I don't know if you've read it. It is insane.
I think we're not doing people a service unless we actually read them a passage of it, which I do have here.
Oh, you do have one of that? Which passage are you going to read?
So this is the one from Higgins,
right?
Arguing about the domestic enemies of Donald Trump and what needs to be done to them.
All right, read it.
We ready for this?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. I can't do Morgan Freeman, folks, but we'll try here. Culturally conditioned to limit responses to such attacks as yet another round in the ongoing drone from diversity and multicultural malcontent. These broadsides are discounted as political correctness run amok. However, political correctness is a weapon against reason and critical thinking. This weapon functions as the enforcement mechanism of diversity narratives to seek to implement cultural Marxism. Candidate Trump's rhetoric in the campaign not only cut through the Marxist narrative, he did so in ways that were viscerally comprehensible to a voting bloc that then they made candidate Trump president, making that bloc self-aware in the process. President Trump is either whatever. I can go on. The whole point.
No, that is exactly the paragraph that I have highlighted as well.
And then with the last part of it, actually, I'll skip all that crap. For this cabal, Trump must be destroyed. Far from politics as usual, like going after the president for a blowjob, which is politics as usual. This is a political warfare effort that seeks the destruction of a sitting president, which has never been done by the GOP. I threw that part in there. I mean, it's sort of just this crazy tripe this guy's trying to use to justify essentially, and he was hired by Michael Flynn. I know that'll shock everybody, going after the, quote, global corporatists and bankers.
Well, I can tell you that the term cultural Marxism, it goes back quite a ways. In 2003, there was a Southern Poverty Law Center piece about cultural Marxism catching on. And the first paragraph, Pat Buchanan says it's being used to de-Christianize America. And William Lind claims it's turning U.S. college campuses into ivy-covered North Koreas. Retired Naval Commander Gerald Atkinson fears it's invaded the nation's military academies, and immigration activist John Vinson suggested aims to distort and destroy our country. It is described as a conspiratorial attempt to wreck American culture and morality. And this is going to come as a shock to you, Cliff, but it is tied into a lot of the Frankfurt School and a bunch of Jews who came over in Columbia University.
How many different things can we say here? Global corporatists, bankers, Marx. Let's all the fill-in words for Jews.
But nevertheless, I mean, these guys are on the National Security Council. And one more thing that stuck out to me, the conclusion, right? Supposedly this made it to Donald Trump's desk sometime after it's being written in May, and it's released today. Or I should say, from when McMaster fired these guys, which was, what was it, a week ago now, right? Week or two ago.
Yeah, I think about that, yeah.
When he got wind of this memo, but it went directly to the president's desk. Here's the conclusion. The recent turn of events give rise to the observation that the defense of President Trump is the defense of America in the same way President Lincoln was surrounded by political opposition both inside and outside his wire. In both overt and covert forms, so too is President Trump. Had Lincoln failed, so too would have the Republic. It was sometime in July, presumably after he saw this memo, that he started comparing himself to Lincoln. So
it already obviously was affecting him. And again, then that's kind of the point I was making earlier. Whether it's tweets or it doesn't really matter if it's in a tweet, any policy pronouncement. I mean, and this has been said about Trump forever, that the last person he talked to is what he thinks.
Yep.
He's not a smart person. He's not the negotiator he thinks he is. And it's very easy for these guys to manipulate him. And most of them, albeit while being a little bit crazy, are smart enough to know that. So, I mean, throw a bunch of this, claptrap into a memo and give it to Trump, and who knows what the hell he's doing. And, again, there are people just as big lunatics as these two guys. I give you Sebastian Gorka, for example, that are still there and still have the president's ear and probably still running ridiculous memos like this.
All right,
that's what you're dealing with.
That also, since we're talking a little bit about culture and the right wing, this is just too juicy not to talk about. Apparently, September's Vogue cover has been released. And it is Jennifer Lawrence taken on a picture of her taken on one of the ferries that go around New York City with the Statue of Liberty in the background. And Breitbart's, one of the editors there, John Carney, who is the guy who came from the Wall Street Journal, right? I think.
I know.
And he was the guy who was supposedly providing the prestige.
Some sanity, maybe?
Yeah, the prestige he tweeted out the following tweet, picture of the Vogue title, and then he wrote, "We're going to have to create a full MAGA shadow cultural industry because the opposition media can't even do fashion without attacking us."
Right. Showing the Statue of Liberty is attacking them. which really tells you what you need to know about them. They're very American. I mean, what else is now?
Well, somebody wrote...
showing the Emancipation Proclamation, would that be an attack on them too?
Somebody wrote to Carney on Twitter and said, where is the attack here? And Carney wrote back, really? So you think they just coincidentally decided to put up one of the most beautiful women in America next to the Statue of Liberty? It's clearly an allusion to our current immigration debate, taking the poem law side. That is the side of people who think that the poem on the base of the Statue of Liberty supposedly is law. Now, John Carney, who's supposedly a rational human being, apparently doesn't know about lead time when it comes to photo shoots for magazines. If they're doing the cover, that thing was taken months ago.
Many months ago, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And B, Jennifer Lawrence is not an immigrant. If you wanted to, the whole lead is American Beauty. And if you wanted to promote...
If you wanted to do immigration, put Melania Trump on there.
Well, you would put anybody who's an immigrant.
Right. I'm just having fun. These people are too much. There's too much crazy. Well, that's the thing. And so this is their persecuted mentality, which is why, I mean, you can't do anything anymore. Whatever it was, it would be an attack on them, because it has to be explicitly conservative, white, male, Christian, heterosexual, rural, and everything else for it to not be an attack on them. Next time they'll be like, they're showing a picture of New York City. That's an attack on us.
It's just an extension of the white the aggrievement that conservatives the white aggrievement sometimes, but it's also just sort of conservative agreement. This is the essence of Breitbart, and then they go on to say, seriously, I think we could do really well with a at Breitbart News fashion. Lots of women who would like their fashion without leftism.
Who would these fashionistas be?
I don't think
on the right
fashion, women,
just
or
prads,
leftism
just
are
show it.
What John Carney thinks it is. But
there's a lot that's clearly not what John Carney thinks it is. He's taken a long path away from the Wall Street Journal, which already their editorial page is a little bit crazy. But we're in a different territory now.
By far, Cliffy. Always a pleasure, buddy. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right, folks.
McMaster was like, this memo is triggering me, so you're going to need to be fired. Like the military in this administration are the ones that are like, guys, there's a social context behind race. And I don't think that you really understand how race is performed in this country.
I just like to say that is a huge coup for Vogue, because the September issue is the most important of the year. And now people are talking about it.
Being mentioned by John Carney?
Well, people are talking. I mean, it was all over Twitter last night. People will
because of
buy
conservatives?
Because it's just on people's radar. Yeah, I mean, I guess people that normally wouldn't.
I'm directing the new fashion issue for Breitbart. Just work it, girl. Do it in a completely non-ideological, non-Islamo-PC way. The alpha men are back. And we want girls and
more medals, please. More medals.
Oh my God, do you see the swastika shape on that jacket? Just simply looks smashing.
You love it. All right, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, Judy Gold.
Something small within me dies. Can't say if
We are back. Sam Seder on the Majority Report. Ladies and gentlemen, when I tell people in the office that our next guest is going to be on today, they all individually, I told each one of the people in this office individually that our next guest is going to be on. They all had the same reaction. Excitement. Thank God.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It was just, oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. Just so you know, I'm loaded and I'm ready to go. Loaded. I'm loaded. You know, if he did get loaded, maybe he'd fucking make some sense. Okay?
It's Judy Gold, folks.
Oh, hey, sorry. Hi, I'm loaded. I'm loaded. I'm loaded. What's up? Ready to go? Battleship. I sunk your battleship.
It's you know, this we knew there would be this element to the Trump
Right.
presidency, but it's
Right.
It's unbelievable that America has had to exist this week contemplating the idea of an unnecessary nuclear war.
First of all, you knew he was going to do this because when he had the meeting at the White House after he unfairly won the presidency, all he talked about was how do I do the nuclear? Why hasn't anyone used this nuclear code? What? He's a fucking 2-year-old baby. He wants loyalty from everyone, and then he disses everyone like McConnell and. Fuck you. He's so disgusting. And you know what? Look at the two of them and their fucking hair. They're both the same person, Kim Jong-un and this one. They have shitty hair. They're immature. They're fucking assholes. Like, I can't believe that. Get him out of there. Get him out. I don't understand. What about the emollients clause? Like, why is he allowed to do anything he fucking wants? I'm locked and loaded, baby.
You really are. I mean, I told
I'm
you.
locked. Okay, go. Sorry.
Are your kids freaking out at all?
Yeah. What the fuck? Like, he so doesn't understand diplomacy. There's nothing smart about him. He's such a fucking idiot. He's an idiot. I can't take him. And Bannon. Fuck you, Bannon, you fucking asshole. Kelly hates Bannon now. That's good.
Wait, did Kelly not hate?
There's a lot of Kellys going around. I think she's talking
you're
about
Kelly.
the general and not.
Oh, John Kelly,
the person on this
Yeah,
show
John
who doesn't
Kelly.
matter.
Yeah,
How do you know John Kelly hates Bannon?
I have some. I heard there's some infighting.
Yep. Wait, you have back channels
you have sources
into the,
inside the White House, Judy? Yes.
Well, not really, but I read it. So I heard that's the new fight, Bannon and Kelly.
Really? I mean, I know
that's what I
McMaster's
heard.
been going at it, but Kelly I wasn't so clear on.
Yeah, I that's what I heard.
They both
But,
share a deep loathing for Hispanics, it seems to me.
Say that again?
They both share a loathing for Hispanics.
And others.
Yeah.
Who do you think has worse hair, Kim Jong-un or fuckhead?
Trump, he has to glue it over to the other side.
Fuckhead bins.
Well,
how dare you compare our hair? We are doing First Strike Guam, Judy.
Okay, well, I think I'm in love with Jeffrey Lord. I think I want to marry him. He's really hot.
My understanding is he goes home and he takes care of his 96-year-old
I know. I said something. I said, oh, he's never been married and he lives with his mother. And now he's a Nazi. And, of course, I say that, and they're like, his mother has Alzheimer's. His mother has Alzheimer's.
Wait, does he really live with his mom? That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
But it's always like, you're an asshole because his mother has Alzheimer's. Blah, 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 blah.
Well, it was unfair of you to give his mother Alzheimer's.
That was very rude, Judy. Some of us have to take care of our mothers.
I actually gave it to her. Yep, I gave it to her. He's fucking golfing and starting a war. I mean, like, seriously.
Yeah, it's insane.
But what about put it on my desk? I would have signed it. Shut the fuck up. Read a goddamn book, you fucking asshole.
That I gotta say, I really do enjoy the Mitch McConnell Donald Trump
I'm
fight.
loving that.
Apparently,
Because
they
it is
spoke on
true.
the phone, and it got a little heated. And McConnell was like, "I'm not going to, I'm not backing down." Here is Trump whining about. Listen to Donald Trump whining about Mitch McConnell. Here he is.
Talk about your relationship with Senator McConnell. I just want him to get repeal and replace done. I've been hearing repeal and replace now for 7 years, but I've only been doing this for 2 years, and I've really only been doing this for 6 months, but I've been running. So now it's almost 2 years, and all I hear is repeal and replace. And then I get there, and I said, where's the bill? I want to sign it, first day. And they don't have it. And they passed repeal and replace, but they never had a president, frankly, or a Senate that was going to do it, but they never had a president, so it didn't matter. So I say very simply, where is repeal and replace? Now I want tax reform and tax cuts. We're going to reduce taxes for the people. We pay more tax than anybody in the world, and we're going to reduce taxes. So I say tax cuts, tax reform, and I want a very big infrastructure bill where we're working on that very hard already, and we can do that. And we may even get bipartisan on infrastructure, but we want to have it. But I said, Mitch, get to work and let's get it done. They should have had this last one done. They lost by 1 vote. For a thing like that to happen is a disgrace. And frankly, it shouldn't have happened. That I can tell you. It shouldn't have happened.
Oh God, he's so brilliant, and his sentence structure is, I mean, like, and he makes nouns out of verbs and verbs out of nouns. Like, he's just a fucking, oh my God. Yeah, I said to him, I said, you know, I've been doing this 6 months, but I've been really doing it for 2 years. He's a fucking asshole. You know, that's what I said to him.
What do you think is going on in
Doing it
his
for 2 years.
brain? What do you think is going on in his brain where he's like, I want to be accurate, but I want to be too accurate, but then I'm going to go back to the non-accurate one.
Yeah, but they didn't have a president. Yeah, we didn't have a president, asshole.
It
We
was
didn't have a
se-
president. That's
does-
so true.
Does
We
it
didn't have
sound
a
good
pres-
if I stood by 7 years? Or I've only been here for 6 months, but then I'll count 2 years. I mean,
No, I've been here, but it's
in
like
the
2
middle.
years. But I mean, I've been talking about it, and they've been talking about it. It's like, why isn't it on my desk? Why isn't it on my desk? Why? Because you don't even have a desk, you fucking asshole. Put it on your golf cart, you fuckhead. I can't take it. He's driving me crazy. You don't understand my blood pressure. I have to sleep with the phone in the other room because if I get a CNN alert, I get fucking crazy. He's horrible. He's
Put
such
the
an
alerts
idiot.
on silent.
So stupid.
So
Yeah, it's
hateful,
on
Judy.
silent.
So hateful.
I'm sorry.
So hateful.
He's
so
doing
unfair.
such I mean, the only fun part is Don Jr. now, you know, has to live in a hole. Okay.
Yeah, that's
That's a good one. You know, him yelling at McConnell, I fucking love. John McCain's thumbs down was one of the greatest moments of my life. Listen, one vote. Shut the fuck up. He doesn't even do anything. Where's your wall, asshole?
that's a good point.
It's actually not that important, but it is from a public sense. Did you read the transcript
Yeah.
with the Mexican president, Judy?
Oh, the really good conversation they had?
Yeah, the really good. And he said when he called New Hampshire a drug den, and then he's like,
Yeah.
hey, look, it doesn't matter about the wall per se, but in a certain sense, I need to talk about it so it's helpful politically.
Yeah.
Yes.
He has no understanding. What about how he gets a 25-page thing about how great he is every morning? I want that.
I want that too. I've asked for it, and nobody's
I get
responding
nothing.
around here.
I got nothing. Yeah, why doesn't anyone hand me you look so great, you look so thin in this picture. Oh God, Judy, you're so beautiful and smart. Like what? Why can't I get that every morning? I mean, the guy is mentally fucking ill. Like he's gone beyond Nixon. It's beyond. And what is going on?
Well, Nixon had a certain intelligence in a certain sense.
Whatever. What about Roger Stone? He's a fucking asshole too.
Well, he's always been a fucking asshole.
Did you see the
Fucking
documentary?
asshole.
Uh,
Yeah.
Judy,
He's
how
a
are your kids?
dickwad.
How are your kids dealing with this? I'm curious because
Well,
Mila's starting to freak out a little
Ben
bit. and
is
I'm-
worried.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little one's worried. Okay.
We should tell people he's like, what, 16 now? Little one?
Ben is 16. He's 6'6". He's a little worried. Henry's going to be 21. He went to see the Michael Moore play, which he really liked. And, you know, he said, you know, like when you're 21 and he's like, oh, come on, nothing's going to happen. You know, like everything's like that. I don't have to wear a bicycle helmet. Mommy, you have to wear a bicycle helmet because if you get hit, you'll die. If I get hit, I won't die. That's what he says to me.
I'm sure he understands how it works.
Yeah. No, because my head is in better shape than... It's like, shut the fuck up.
Many people are saying that.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Don just tweeted at me, when is Donald Trump releasing his summer reading list like Obama did? That would be good.
Crippled America,
That would
number
be
one.
fucking great. Can you believe that we have to talk to our children about war?
It's
because his dick and hands are so tiny.
It really is disturbing. And, you know, and the thing is that, like, I don't feel 100% confident in telling her that it's, although I guess if there's going to be a war that's actually going to impact us, I'm not going to probably have to be around to justify it to her, right? But,
Right.
But, you know, I mean, how do you say, like, well, look, you're going to be perfectly safe. Though there is an outside chance that he's going to trigger something that's going to end up killing hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions.
Right. And, you know, I was booked at the Guam Comedy Hut, and I had to cancel.
You're not going to go? Really?
I'm not going. I can't go. I can't go.
You're not going to provide?
I'm just really upset about it. I'm really upset.
You're not going to
Good gig.
Chuckles and Soul either.
You know what? Why don't we take Dennis Rodman and send him to Guam?
Oh,
Wouldn't that protect maybe the island? in
Maybe.
some way?
Actually, did you know, Judy, that we don't even have an ambassador to South Korea? Did you know that?
No, yes, I did know that. Yes, I did. Because God forbid he should make appointments, you know?
Well, that
I
way,
knew that. Yes, I did.
after our
we don't have a
bombing,
secretary of the Navy. We don't have a secretary of the Navy.
you don't need it.
That's why we can't keep track of those boats.
Isn't that good in a
We're just
certain
sending
sense?
missiles. The good thing about not having a South Korean ambassador is when we bomb North Korea and North Korea bombs South Korea, we don't have to hear about it.
Yeah,
there'll be no one there to tell
Where's
us.
the information?
Yeah. But also, you know, China really, what are they doing? China needs to take care of it. China.
China was like, could you please stop doing this? It's fucking everything up.
I know.
So,
and his ties are made in China. Go ahead.
And
they smell like China. Did you know his ties smell like China?
I was not fully.
How do you know how his ties smell?
I just heard from someone who fucked them. Yeah, go ahead.
Did you really?
No.
Do you know anybody?
It's a total lie.
I have heard stories.
They smell like a
Hold on.
vodka's China.
Wait a second. I want to hear about these stories.
No, I'm not allowed to say, but I have been told it's tiny.
All right, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Are they, these stories, do they all involve women?
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean,
All right.
yeah. I mean, from people that have met him. Yeah, absolutely. And he's so, you know what? He is so good for women. He really is. He's so respectful. And, you know, I was just thinking, God is on his side, you know? And if he wants to start a nuclear war, God wants him to. God.
Well, I mean.
Did you read that evangelical guy who said, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, he said it on Fox News, right? Isn't he like a Fox News contributor?
He's a
or
Fox
something?
News. Yeah.
Focus
Fox
on
News.
faith.
Unbelievable.
So now there's Trump News, there's Fox News, and there's fake news. Here's what I've decided fake news is. You want to know what fake news is?
What's that?
When I'm having a fight with Elisa, my girlfriend,
Mm-hmm.
anything she says during that fight is fake news.
I love it. How does
Yeah,
she respond
so-
to? I hope you say like when she has
Every time
an
we're
issue with
fighting,
you.
and she's like, but you did blah blah blah. I'm like, that's fake news. That didn't happen. I'm just going to use fake news the way
How does she
it could
react
be used.
when you say that?
She hangs up on me.
You know, in
I'm
my
gonna try that.
experience, Judy, that's not a very productive way of having an adult relationship.
I'm sorry, Donald. I'm sorry. And Melania is so in love with him. You can just see the,
I love this man.
love. He's doing a wonderful job, and you
don't have
know,
any sympathy for her.
when I marry him, I make arrangements, and I did not know he would be president. It was a big hoax, but I'm going to get a lot of money after. Going to get a lot of money. And I know I look Asian because I've had my eyes pulled. I actually have strings behind my eyes, and he pulls me. All right, so I guess I'm not that funny today because I'm so angry.
No, I think the anger
I'm
is very
loaded.
cathartic.
I'm locked and loaded, bitches. Locked and loaded.
Uh,
Who the fuck says that? He must play video games all day long. Fire and fury, locked and loaded. I mean, what is that shit?
I wish I had an answer. I think I don't understand it really, to be honest with you. I think it seems to me that he gets feedback from some place. Maybe it's Gorka, maybe it's Bannon,
Oh,
maybe
I love
it's his
Gorka.
Facebook
He
feed.
made a large donation to our synagogue, Gorka. And he also donated a Torah to our local synagogue, Gorka. So I really enjoy him. I mean, he's another fucking Nazi. Bannon and Gorka. Fucking
Yeah.
assholes. Go ahead, sorry.
No,
Well,
I
at least
mean, I
Mitch
think
McConnell's attractive. He's attractive. I mean, like, if a woman was that unattractive and was head of the Senate, do you know the shit she would get?
it would be relentless.
I mean, he is one of the homeliest people I have ever seen in my entire life.
He is uniquely unattractive. And to be fair, also on the inside.
Yes.
It
But
oozes
it's
out.
It's just like, how do you wake up, look in the mirror, and I mean, he's disgusting.
Do you think Donald
And
Trump
yet they
knows
make
that,
fun of- Yeah, go
that
ahead.
McConnell's wife is in the cabinet? Do you think that Trump even realizes that Elaine Chao is married to him?
Yeah, I'm sure that's how she got it.
I totally forgot
what
about
does Elaine
it.
Chao say about what is she? Like, she's not unattractive on the outside.
I mean, honestly, I don't know that anyone could be as unattractive as Mitch McConnell. I mean,
I mean, he is so ugly. He is so ugly. Sorry.
Yeah, guys,
but-
that's absolutely right. He's disgusting. By the way, I saw a dog the other day, and I said,
Yeah.
he actually looks worse. This dog looks better than Mitch McConnell. I said that, and other people said it too. It was incredible.
I'd say Mitch McConnell is a 3. I'd say he's a 3. A 3.
Mitch McConnell?
A 3?
Oh,
No, he's a 2.2.
No.
No, he's like a 1, maybe.
He's definitely a 1. I mean, look.
He's like worst case scenario person you
There
go
are
home
people
with.
with skin diseases that are way more attractive than him.
Again, Judy's nailing it. Do you want to
Yeah.
come to the golf course?
Missing, missing like eyes, burn victims. So much more attractive than that fucking asshole.
And burn
Okay.
victims are losers,
Gross.
too.
Because they did it to themselves.
They did it to themselves.
Here's how we're going to end
I like
the
my
opioid
victims who
crisis.
did not. Yeah. I like my victims who
Here's how
didn't
you
burn
end
themselves.
it. Just don't do it. Just don't start, and then you won't have to stop if you just don't. You're such a fucking idiot.
Here, you
I
know,
know, it kinda sounds like logic, Judy.
We saved this for you, Judy. Matt, I think there were people like asking this question, and so Matt asked our audience if they had ever seen Donald Trump laugh. And
No, I've said that. He has no sense of humor. The Trumpians have no sense of humor. They take themselves so seriously. They're too dumb to make a joke because you have to be smart to make a joke. You have to actually look at something from another perspective. So they're fucking idiots. Go ahead.
Well, we found a clip of Donald Trump laughing.
No way.
It's going to not make you, you're not going to enjoy it.
Okay, go ahead.
But here it is. This is at a rally or a speech, right? Is Matt? Is it? It's not a full-on rally because it must be some type of sort of a press conference, but it's like some type of small speech because he's behind a.
Okay.
All right. But there is an audience, so because that's where something from the audience makes him laugh. Hold on, we'll wait for these sirens to go by.
Here comes the fucking fire department.
I was going to say someone already called the EMTs because you may
I'm supposed to be eating lunch and I came outside.
You may need an EMT after this. Here is Donald Trump. This was during the campaign at one point, right, Matt? Sometime in August, maybe? All right. Well, here it is.
Is that a dog? Uh-oh. It's Hillary.
Oh, that was it. That was not a big laugh, actually.
But by his standards.
That's as big as it gets.
Oh, that's funny because I'm so attractive. Oh, it's Hillary. Oh, because I'm so hot. Is that a dog? Oh, it's Hillary. Fuck you, you fucking piece of shit. Is that funny? Because a dog is unattractive, and so then you could call Hillary a dog.
He really seemed to find that funny.
That was amazing. A lot of people say that the country isn't creative anymore, and we're so arrogant in New York and California with our coastal elitism. And then you go out, and this guy goes, Hillary looks like a dog. I mean, that's comedic genius.
And it's so classy. Yeah, he's so classy.
I genuinely was
really
not expecting footage like even that small laugh to come through as a sign of maybe, I don't know,
know.
some people say sociopathy.
Oh, that's a
or-
funny one. That's like second grade, okay, on the playground. Oh, you're a dog. That is the fucking Arrested Development of this fucking disgusting with that fucking hair. How about how many times he doesn't know he gets off the plane and then wanders around the tarmac like a fucking idiot.
Well, I'm going senile. That's a little tasteless, Judy.
For real. No, I mean, he is watching that clip from him the other day from I forget what show it was, but from 1999 and just Meet the Press and just how many more, I mean, his vocabulary was never great, but just how much more capable of expressing himself, and his vocabulary increased by about 20 words or so was disturbing.
Is that true?
Yeah, it was.
He's still a massive asshole, but he did seem a little bit more on the ball.
He's still a huge moron, but the decline
Right.
in his cognitive abilities is it's even more scary than everything else. It has already made me scared. So
I can't. You knew he was going to start a war because the whole Russia thing.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, all right. Can I go eat my Cobb salad? Because it's my last meal. Hey, what are our last meals going to be?
Sushi.
I say we go out for, I would go out for Asian fusion.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
An Asian fusion last. Yeah. All right. Well, I see.
Okay,
I get where
Raymond
you're going with that.
Manafort. I guess we got a new Korea. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go out. We'll go out. Yeah. That's what I'm
Steve's really
doing.
into it.
What are you telling your kids?
Yeah. I'm just saying, let's spend all the money we have. Eat whatever you want. You don't have to go to school. No, I just say it's not going to happen. But there's a part of me that's like, I can't someone's got to be able to stop. Someone's got to be able to stop him. I don't understand it.
It's messed up, but Judy, nobody expresses the anger and the frustration better than you.
Thank you very much. I think he has ruined this country. He's so jealous of Obama because Obama's popular and cool and hip and smart, and he's none of those things.
He's
Okay,
black.
he's
I think I'm doing okay.
It is pretty
right.
jarring to go back and listen to one of Obama's like speeches. Like even
Right.
you know, I was going around. There was somebody had said that Obama said we will destroy you to North Korea, and in fact, he was with Charlie Rose, and he said, "Look, we could." Annihilate North Korea, but we don't want to do that. There's moral problems and there's obviously practical problems.
Well,
like
the
Right.
type of fire and fury that you've never seen before. All right, now back on the golf course. By the way, I thought the North Korean leader was pathetic, sad. And I told Harry Reid, there's legislation, put it on my desk. I've been like doing this for a while and stuff.
I know, it's been 7 years, bitches, 7 years. I said to John Boehner, put the repeal and the replace on my desk.
That's like the Rush Limbaugh, Amos and Andy impression. And Rush Limbaugh goes, here's an impression of Obama. And he goes, now look at here. Obama cares is a good.
Oh,
Jesus.
fucking asshole. That fat fuck. He doesn't. I don't believe in gay marriage. He's in 4 fucking marriages. You fucking asshole.
And not to
no
mention
kids.
whatever he does on the Dominican Republic.
Yeah,
That's
indeed.
bad.
What
How about the climate change people had to put out the report?
had to leak the
behind
draft?
Assholes back.
Yeah, good for them. Good for them. I mean, I think that's what
I know.
leaks are for.
I think, everyone gave him a few, they gave him a few months, like, okay, and now everyone's like, okay, this is ridiculous.
What are you doing these days, Judy? Working?
Well, I'm playing a lot of tennis. I'm in Provincetown, actually, till the end of the summer doing stand-up.
Are you doing Just Kill Me?
And I'm going on the road. Yeah, I'm doing stand-up. I love stand-up.
No,
and
but-
then and my podcast, Kill Me Now.
Kill Me Now.
And,
Are you doing that
yeah,
from
that's
there,
it.
or did you pre-record it?
I pre-recorded the next 4 weeks.
Nice.
But I'm playing golf, playing a lot of golf.
Playing a lot of
but
golf.
I'm still working. I'm still taking calls.
It's a working vacation.
Yeah, it's a working vacation. It's a working vacation. I'm taking calls. Just because I'm here, doesn't mean I'm not working or eating. I'm a fat fuck. Have you seen me? All right.
All right. Go eat your Cobb salad.
I love you guys.
Judy Gold, thank you
when do I
so
get
much.
to talk to you again?
Honestly,
As soon as possible.
Any
Yeah,
time.
always wants
Yeah.
to.
I can fucking hate him. All right.
All right,
I'm
we'll talk to you
fat.
soon.
All right.
Thanks,
Bye, Judy. Thank
Love
you.
you guys.
Love
All
you
right.
too.
Call me before the war so we can all go out to eat.
All right, good. Let's do that. I'll
All
talk
right,
to you soon.
bye.
Bye. Judy Gold, ladies and gentlemen. Kill Me Now is her podcast, available through iTunes.
It's Please Kill Me.
Please kill me? Why do I keep saying kill me now?
Because you want someone to kill you? I don't know.
Please kill me. All right. Fair enough.
Jesus Christ.
Please kill me.
She always nails it.
All right, folks. Oh, wow. We'll go into the fun half. It's not we're actually sort of almost on time. Do we have a Jimmy Reefer Cake song?
We do not. I think
All right, so it's time. Let's play that. We have another entry on the fun half Diddy song. This one is considerably less hip hop oriented. What's that? Yeah, Michael, did you forward that to Matt?
No, I didn't see it. I thought you already
The
had
one
it.
we forwarded it yesterday. Remember, it was the one. It was 2 yesterday. Michael, the one that
hold
you know
on.
what I'm talking
I
about.
think so.
I got it. Here it is.
Steve?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Here it comes, Matt. I'm sending it to you now. Matt doesn't check his emails from us. That's what
I know.
Yeah,
I've
Matt's
come
All
to
three of
know.
us sent it to him.
Matt's like, where
I
was
did
it?
not get
In
this
your
one. I'm
email.
looking at it right now.
Oh,
I'm
well,
sending it right
whatever.
now. Matt is getting pissed.
Yeah,
now.
Matt
He's
is
getting pissed.
Matt is like
He's getting a
in
little
his
testy
little
about
subtle
it.
way. He's
but
quick on the trigger. I like
mean,
it.
let's be honest.
Because no one
When
ever
I send,
criticizes
if
him.
I don't send Matt, if I don't put in like, if I don't, what did he say?
He said, "Why should they?"
If I don't put my subject line in all caps with Matt, he will not open my.
Me
email.
too.
He won't do it.
A lot of times I'm like, "Please open this email." Oh my God, please, with all caps and
Well,
exclamation
sometimes
points.
you go to that once too
Yeah,
often.
I think
That's
you
the problem.
hit that fast.
No, I only reserve it for special
How
occasions.
many times have you done it?
Maybe 2. I'll put
I actually,
the
you know,
whole
I would
point
Matt-
of the
Matt,
email
I would-
in the subject line.
Have you ever heard the fable of the producer who cried wolf?
Yes, I have. But no, really.
Yes, I have.
Fair enough.
Hey, Matt, I think I deserve some measure of credit for pretty much never emailing you. I know.
Yeah,
how,
but you
I know
text
how
him
this
all
game
night
is
long.
played. All night long.
Yeah, that sounded a little
we
weird.
need a sound drop for that. All
wait, what
night
happened?
long. I love when Sam gets delayed on his soundboard, but he's still satisfied with himself.
Well, I'm gonna
put
do
on
it.
my soundboard. My sound.
had-
Oh, the
this
Perry
is-
Mason music.
This is like the.
I had an outburst.
when?
Like just now because I said you texted him all night long and I feel like that was a gross exaggeration and I'm not positive of
he seemed
how
defensive enough about it to
I
want to
don't
make
do
it
that.
about
I don't do
the
that at all.
soundboard.
I don't do that. It's
I'm
not
just
a
saying
lie.
you seemed. I didn't say you.
No, I don't.
I said you seemed.
Let's go to the fun
defensive
half.
about it.
Let's stop it.
That you
We
actually
have a song.
got-
Now Matt's getting defensive about it too. I don't think any of us.
Oh,
Did
Mike
you just
did
do
his
fake
own
yawn?
fake
I just did
yawn.
a fake yawn.
That's pretty good. Michael, he's really growing up since his new show is on.
No, everything's just getting so mixed up. He's doing parodies of himself now.
I
It's,
know. Look at that. Isn't that wonderful?
He's growing. Hello.
I actually had a moment. I had another moment. Another moment like that today when Saul referred to something that happened yesterday. Like he now understands. He doesn't say other day. He said like he's gotten specific with time. I had the same. That's 2 in 1 day for me.
Maybe you can teach our president.
Watch Michael do his own fake yawn, making fun of his own yawn. All right, so this is. Steve has sent this in. It is the next round of submissions on Diddy. Folks, just a reminder, this show relies on your membership to survive. It is memberships make up a, 94% of our revenue. And there's, we have people who have to drop out because of financial reasons. And if you are one of those people who don't have any financial constraints at the moment and can support this show, please do so. Head over to jointhemajority.report.com. And as a way of saying thank you, we give you some premium material every single entire day. Yes.
I've made an error.
Yes.
It is Kill Me Now with Judy Gold.
Jesus, wow.
Please Kill Me is a book about it's a history of punk rock.
Okay. Thank you. Kill Me Now. And so join the Majority
You're
Report.
so proud of yourself being right. Good for you, Sam. I'm proud
not
of you
proud.
too. Like you're
you
proud
are
of Saul.
dwelling on it more. I was just actually.
I just
going
want to
into
make
the-
sure everyone knows what to look for.
I don't feel like it's terribly important that it'll be in the story notes. Kill Me Now is the actual name of the podcast, not what Kelly said. It's not a big deal. We don't need to dwell on it. She made a real point of correcting me with wrong information. JoinTheMajorityReport.com. Is that right? Oh, and folks, don't forget, justcoffee.coop, fair trade coffee, tea, or chocolate. Use the coupon code majority, get 10% off. And if you buy your crap through Amazon or jet.com, do so through our link at majorityreportkickback.com. Here is that ditty by listener Steve.
Jam and jelly, that's what I like. Sam and Kelly, Matt and Mike. You've heard the interview and it's time for a snack. It's the
Fun half. Fun half.
peanut butter, high in calories. Slice of white bread, rich and floury. The world is blue and I need a good laugh. It's the
Fun half. Oh my God. That definitely had like the AM radio feel.
It's like a Rush song.
It was a little
like
bit.
Spirit of the Radio or something.
Yeah. All right, folks. Take a quick break. We'll be right back for the fun half. 646-257-3920 is the number. We'll be right back.
Think of all the times she said no, 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 no. Like to speak my mind. She said no, 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 no. And I know her time's not free. She didn't waste none on me. Situation sad. She said no, 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 no. Things are looking bad. She said no, 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 no. And if it was up to me, I'd tell her a thing or three. Every time I see her look my way, I don't know, girl, what to say. Situation sad. She said no, 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 no. Things are looking bad. She said no, 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 no. And if it was up to me, I'd tell her a thing or three. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's the famous fun half of the Majority Report. Thank God we got rid of that dead weight. Oh, yeah. All those freebie listeners. Yeah, we just
Holding us
jettisoned
down.
them.
I thought you were talking about Michael, who went into the other room.
But I was also talking about Michael. Went to the other room. Oh, he's back. Folks, Donald Trump obviously loves the leaks that are coming out of the White House. Why? Well, he gets a little philosophical about it here because he realizes that when he sees the leaks in the White House, it means there are people who are trying to get closer to him in his mind and that they love him.
And then you have the leaks where people want to love me, and they're all fighting for love. Those are not very important, but certainly we don't like them. Those are little inner White House leaks. They're not very important, but actually I'm somewhat honored by them. But the important leaks to me, and the leaks that the Attorney General is looking at very strongly, are the leaks coming out of intelligence, and we have to stop them for the security and the national security of our country.
When Paul Manafort ends up giving up some of the financial deals, the money laundering, it's really because he loves me. I mean, this guy, it's...
He's crazy. He's just crazy.
Well, I mean, he's perceiving the jockeying of power in the White House. People who want to have more power by having access to him as their personal affection for him. Maybe it's true. Maybe he's been able to surround himself only with total lunatics who actually love him, as opposed to total lunatics who realize, like, oh, I'm going to have to deal with this nut job, but I am going to be closer to power and have more power.
The president and how much we love the president and the way some of you perhaps see the president, but I love the president, and I'm very, very loyal to the president, and I love the mission that the president has.
Well, there he goes, the Scaramouche.
The love word, it's not just Scaramucci. Everyone's talking about how much they love the president, and it makes me think that Trump is actually asking people if they love him.
Do you love me? Yeah, I can imagine that.
Yeah.
Well,
Do you love me?
Don't get too high and mighty about that.
Scaramucci, do you love me?
Oh, I fucking love you more than I fucking love my own fucking whore wife.
There you go.
And by the way, there's a fucking baby dropping right now. It's my fucking kid. I don't know that fucking kid's name because I fucking love you, you fucking son of a bitch, genius, fucking titan of fucking industry, fucking buildings and shit.
Here you go. JGM, the Majority Report with Judy Gold, shouting everything I've privately thought. Could you elaborate on a comment you made on why Miami is inevitably screwed? Something about limestone. Yeah, we had an interview with a guy who wrote about a piece in Rolling Stone about Miami on this program, and I feel like it was probably 4 years ago, where he goes through all the specifics. But basically, Miami is built on limestone. So it's not just that with the sea level rise, it's going to be coming over their shores. It's actually pressing up through the ground. And so there's no way. They've brought in experts from Holland, where, of course, they have, a lot of dikes, very famously, because they have large portions of their land is below sea level. And they just come in and they're like, we have nothing to tell you because this is a sponge. We can keep the water maybe from coming to your shore and sinking you that way, but it's literally seeping up from below. So they're having all sorts of flooding problems on a fairly regular basis. And it's going to get to a point where I guess you could build everything on stilts. I mean, I guess it'd be like Venice in some weird way.
It's the same reason there's sinkholes in Florida as limestone just washes away.
Bob Flav, program alert. The Mooch will be on Colbert Monday. Dor Zigden, what could Trump be aping Nixon's madman theory? He must be somewhat self-aware. I don't think so.
I mean, I think that there is the best case scenario is that it leads to that type of result because China and actually, oddly, North Korea is going to get so terrified of literally dealing with a madman that it does produce some kind of diplomatic outcome. But the other thing that's really scary about this, and I forget where this was reported, I think it was in the New York Times, but just even with more rational players in place, there isn't the parallel infrastructure with North Korea that we had with, and we have now with Russia, of like, hey, if this submarine is here and you misread it, get on this phone line and check out what's really going on type of thing. You know what I mean? Like a whole other kind of parallel infrastructure to make sure that something doesn't happen just because of a mistake or a misread. That doesn't exist.
God. All right. E. Greg. Women also now graduate college at far higher rates than men. Obviously, very few people will fight to reverse this gap in favor of men, and that's okay.
I feel like there is going to be like we're going to be in some type of like
pull up that.
We're going to be like in a post-apocalyptic hellscape, like in some type of like Conrad, what is it, McCarthy novel, and like Greg is just somehow still going to be like, I agree that the end of the world and the fact that a third of the population is dead from radiation is a big deal. However, I also have libertarian perspective on men who would like to hang out in playgrounds in the post-apocalyptic environment.
According to most mainstream economists, once you control for factors such as college major, time off the labor force to raise children, and hours worked per week, the gender wage gap essentially disappears. Well, I'm looking at that This is from a National Bureau of Economic Research. Gender pay gap widens with age. Now, maybe they're comparing apples and oranges here, is what your argument is. Around the world, I mean, it's just weird that married men and unmarried women would be, but okay. Most homeless are men. When there's a violent crime, male suspects are sexually profiled. No one is seriously asking how we can balance those things.
I hope that
Greg
is at a playground sometime where he can play with children, and instead of getting accused of being a pedophile, a errant drunk driver is going through the playground, and they smash into Greg and run him over until he's dead. And then it takes out a couple of kids too, and I get to drink their blood. I hope you die, Greg.
Oh my God. Greg, I don't know what your argument is. I know you're throwing up a couple of facts that suggest that men have it harder than women in some areas of society, and I imagine that's the case.
Not
but
harder,
I'm
just not
sorry.
easier.
I think broadly speaking, if you do not accept the idea, if you cannot wrap your head around the idea that women are disadvantaged in our society in terms of opportunity, that has, is on some level changing, on some level. But broadly speaking, if you don't still see that imbalance, and I'm going to assume that you would accept the fact that it existed rather explicitly, let's say 40 years ago. If you don't accept that, then I can't really, say anything other than F you.
I'm launching a new group called No Labels. Let's come together and decapitate Greg. Because I think that people from across the political spectrum, whether they're a libertarian billionaire like me or a gross, parasitic little host Jew like you, can all recognize that Greg needs to die.
Greg, I have a thought experiment for you, and here's how it goes. Every time you think of an idea and come to a conclusion and want to make an argument, then write down the opposite conclusion, research that and write down those talking points, and there you will have the correct answer to whatever it is that you're fucking thinking about.
John McCain's brain tumor. Fuck you, Ron Johnson. I had nothing to do with McCain's vote. I don't appreciate the defamation of my character. I'm a tumor. Why would I vote against more death, you dumbass? Look, my lease here is ending soon, and I'm looking for a new clump of cells to party with. I could be your next headache, polyp, or mole. See you soon. Side note, good show. Hope you don't mind, but clot and cheek lump piggyback on my membership. Tumors get all the best gigs. I don't know if that's. I
don't think
it's a laugh.
Just having a laugh.
Did we play? Yeah, we did. We played the McConnell thing, right? Where it's
sick of everything.
Well, there you go, Kelly. Head down to the commissary and you get yourself a nice glass of chamomile tea.
So when women are sick of things, they get chamomile tea. But when men are sick of things, they are told to do a push-up and to, quote-unquote, man up. So my point is, from a libertarian perspective, women are making probably on average about $1.5 million a year if you account for childcare. And then men cannot hang out at playgrounds. And I really wish you'd address this serious point.
I can't take any more Trump on vacation. It's making me so mad. I'm scared we're going to be in
a working vacation.
I'm scared we're going to be in a nuclear war. You're not making me feel any better about it. And now, Greg doesn't even call in, and we have to fucking listen to him. What the fuck?
I'm sorry. We have some Donald Trump sound to play. You'll recall just a couple of days ago, Donald Trump, in addressing the opioid crisis, had this to say about his commission's recommendation that he call for a state of emergency, which will allow funds to be dispersed to deal with the really serious crisis we have of opioid abuse in this country. This is what Donald Trump had to say. This is the first one. No, that is the first one. That's the one that he said the other day. This is what he had to say at that time.
The way to prevent drug addiction and overdoses, to prevent people from abusing drugs in the first place. If they don't start, they won't have a problem. If they do start, it's awfully tough to get off. So we can keep them from going on, and maybe by talking to youth and telling them no good, really bad for you in every way. But if they don't start, it will never be a problem.
Apparently there was some pushback to that. Look, one of the reasons why it occurred to me that he would be holding back from releasing those funds, and remember, these are emergency funds that ride on top of the budget. So you get funds that can be appropriated. If you designate it an emergency, you get funds to be appropriated in excess of caps that have been put on there via the sequester or whatnot. And they can just be released. You wouldn't have to worry about, the Freedom Caucus or anything like that type of situation. It's my understanding anyways. And my thinking was at the time, well, maybe they're holding back on this because Mitch McConnell wants that money, or somebody else, or the White House was thinking that money we got to use to bribe, Portman and Shelley Moore Caputo. But that plan seems to be put by the wayside because he changed his mind. He realized, maybe after talking to somebody, that it's saying it's bad is not enough. Oh, here we go.
Mr. President, is the opioid crisis an emergency, and if so, why haven't you declared it?
The opioid crisis is an emergency, and I'm saying officially right now it is an emergency. It's a national emergency. We're going to spend a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of money on the opioid crisis.
But you need emergency powers to address it.
We're going to draw it up, and we're going to make it a national emergency. It is a serious problem, the likes of which we have never had. When I was growing up, they had the LSD, and they had certain generations of drugs. There's never been anything like what's happened to this country over the last 4 or 5 years. And I have to say this, in all fairness, this is a worldwide problem, not just a United States problem. This is happening worldwide. But this is a national emergency, and we are drawing documents now to so attest.
So, now it very well could be that that'll be the last we hear of it. But, if it is the case, good for him.
I was thinking about his incredibly stupid original comments from the other day. Not good, very bad, don't start in the first place. It's really not an accurate way to approach the problem.
What, really?
At all.
Oh.
But at the same time, it occurred to me that it is his personal experience because he had an older brother who died from addiction problems, and so he just never started drinking or doing drugs. That's what he did about it.
Right, because it's not good, bad.
Exactly. I'm sure he's on something now, but he never...
Can you imagine what happened
Diet
when
pills
he was a
aren't
child?
drugs. What's your problem? Totally unfair.
What'd you say?
Something horrible happened to that guy as a child.
Yeah.
Dad used to take me in the shower and say, mine's bigger than yours, it's bigger than yours, but that's the reason that I became such a great businessman.
That's what the guy from Focus on the
James
Family.
Dobson told fathers to do that.
Yes.
When are you going to start with Saul?
Wait,
Mine's
what are you
bigger
guys
than-
talking about?
Mine's bigger than yours, Saul, do you see?
No, don't say that, Michael. Wait.
No, that's literally James Dobson wrote a parenting book once where he said that fathers, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I read this in Blumenthal's book, Republican Gomorrah. He quoted from it.
Oh, I have the book.
James Dobson said that fathers should bring their sons into the shower with them And basically,
as a way of
that
basically
you have dominance.
Yeah,
mine's bigger than yours.
Now, what I do is that's the way I wake Saul up in the morning.
Good morning, Saul. Nothing's changed around here.
I
Mine's
actually
still
did
bigger
a
than
video
yours, you little prick.
for that-
You want some string cheese?
I did a video for that Huffington Post.
Yeah.
That or 365, whatever that comedy site was. That was I would read things for that, and then I would do it with Mila. So I did one where I played when she was like 3 or 4. I played basketball with her on a hoop that I could dunk on, and she could not. And I just kept facing her to show who had dominance in the house.
Guide to child abuse.
No, I know. That is such a conservative thing to do, to take something like,
Show your penis to kids, yes.
To take something as innocent as bathing with your young child and make it sexualized. I mean, what?
Ivanka came out to me.
What started out as a parenting guide turned into a love story.
Turned into incriminating evidence.
All I wanted to do. Will you keep my board up, for God's sakes?
No.
All I wanted to do was to show her who was boss.
But maybe she was the boss after all, in a certain sense.
In a certain sense.
Sam, honestly.
What?
Consider yourself and how far you can take this. Let's end it now.
What do you mean, consider myself?
You're you. You're not Michael.
Tiffany wanted some, but it was just never the same with her. I remember touching Tiffany on her Sweet 16 and thinking, where was my love? Where was my boo? Where was Ivanka?
And remember, when you leak things about this, it just means you love me more.
It's a nice trick, isn't it?
Yes. It's the reverse Lindy. All right. So, not appropriate.
Michael's going to pass out laughing so hard at himself.
So-
Look at him over there. Jeez, I'm putting the camera on you.
The Russians, Vladimir Putin, has expelled hundreds of U.S. diplomats from Russia in response to the sanctions that were passed by the Senate and then ultimately in the House, I should say the Senate, and then ultimately signed by President Trump. And Trump is taking in stride. To be honest with you, I don't know if he's joking here or if he's trying to make light of it because he doesn't want to lose face, or if he's trying to make light of it so that he doesn't have to really respond to it because he doesn't want to get into a tit-for-tat with Putin. You can decide for yourself. Here he is at the, what do they call this? The New Jersey White House? What do they call this? The green grass, the putting, the greens, the 20th hole. Here is Donald Trump.
Do you have any response to the Russian president expelling 755 workers from our embassy?
No, I want to thank him because we're trying to cut down on payroll. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm very thankful that he let go of a large number of people because now we have a smaller payroll. There's no real reason for them to go back. So I greatly appreciate the fact that they've been able to cut our payroll for the United States. We'll save a lot of money.
Mr. President, was it appropriate for the...
I don't know. I don't know if he's joking. He's definitely trying to minimize it so that he doesn't have to respond to it. But I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine? I mean, obviously at one point it gets meaningless to say this, but I mean, can you imagine if Barack Obama responded to the expulsion of 750 diplomats from Russia with like, ooh, we're going to save on payroll.
Saving money, more white people out of a job, win, 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 as far as I say.
In fact, when Barack Obama did say that thing to Charlie Rose about North Korea, the truth is we could destroy North Korea, but we wouldn't want to. It would be irresponsible. We would never do that. There was actually a certain amount of outrage from the Trumpistas and from the right. It was shocking that he said that. And of course, if the emphasis was on but we wouldn't do that, it would be shocking that he was apologetic about doing it. But it's just amazing. I mean, it really is amazing how successful Trump has been at lowering our standards so quickly and so significantly.
Oh, yeah, my wife wouldn't do the same thing.
The diplomats are still being paid, by the way. They're still on the payroll.
Oh, is that right?
That's what Ben Rhodes tweeted out last night. So they just can't do their jobs.
Oh, all right. Well, whatever.
It's the thought that counts.
Whatever. Okay. I mean,
kind of trying to nuke North Korea here, all right? I don't really have that much time for this.
Newsweek. This is important. I don't know. I don't, take it for what it's worth. We started the show today, and the reason why I headlined the North Korea stuff and then followed it up with the Manafort stuff. And again, I'm not one of those people who subscribes to, he's trying to distract and this and that. But I don't know that it's premeditated. I think maybe in the moment this stuff comes out, it upsets him, and so he tries to think of something else that he thinks is a bigger deal. But that the claims from the Defense Intelligence Agency we should be very skeptical of until at the very least there's sort of some measure of concurrence amongst the other intelligence agencies, which there is not as of last reports. Newsweek is reporting that a team of independent rocket experts has concluded that the two rockets the rogue regime launched in July and described as intercontinental ballistic missiles are incapable of delivering a nuclear payload to the continental United States and probably not even to Anchorage, Alaska. MIT rocket expert Ted Postel and two German experts published their findings Friday in the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists in a paper they titled North Korea's Not Quite ICBM Can't Hit the Lower 48 States. These guys, the German guys, are missile engineers with a Munich-based company who have previously analyzed North Korean missiles and in 2012 determined that the country's supposed ICBMs were fakes. Schiller has worked on missile analysis for NATO, the EU, German and Austrian armed forces, and other institutions in Europe. And Schmucker, the unfortunate name of Schmucker, has worked at NASA and served as a UN weapons inspector in Iraq. So they're saying that the Hwasong-14 is a sub-level ICBM, which would not be able to deliver atom bombs to the continental United States. That's the report. The independent analysts believe the North Korean rocket scientists engineered the power of their rockets with an eye toward gaining height without demonstrating that their devices had the range. Interesting. So, hard to know whether or not the U.S. government had the ability to make that assessment as well or whether they wanted to. so that Donald Trump could have a bit of a show. Who knows? Chappie. Trump supporters are fine with nuking North Korea. Better them than us attitude. My theory is they have too much Neanderthal DNA, not to disparage Neanderthals. Future Mr. Matt. I'm tired of this. 1/3 of our country can comfortably blame everything on abstract outside influences, but when we speak on women, people of color, or the queer community, we're led to believe that we've brought it on ourselves, pull ourselves up. It's always a matter of moral failure when speaking about others. You guys get me through this fucktard moment. Keep it up, P.S. Matt, anytime, anywhere. East Asian comedy. Judy Gold does Kindler's act so much better than he does. She's pure gold, which is why I've booked her at the Pyongyang Comedy Shelter. It's an actual shelter, by the way, and they're 2 glass of water minimum. Ryan from Ohio. Tomorrow is my birthday. Please play the fun half tune I sent in last Sunday. What? Did we? Is that it? Did we play it?
We'll do it Monday.
Ryan. Oh, here it is. Fun half song. He says, I have no idea if this is terrible or not. All right, well, I guess we're all going to find out at the same time. Why is your name not coming into the... Matt? Oh, there it is. Sometimes that doesn't come up. All right, there we go. Let's go to the phones, shall we? You have been on hold for quite some time, and your number is 651. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
My name's the Chris Lapaco. I'm calling from Minneapolis, Minnesota, God's country. How are you?
The Chris Lapaco. I got to say that your name has been bandied about quite a bit in this office as of the past couple of days because people seem to be very excited about the theme song you did for TMBS.
It was great.
Well, you know, I got
you,
one hater on the tweeters, but then he pointed me to a website where I can sell my beats. So, like, it's all good, bro. Yeah, so I like, oh, Michael, I love the show. Great job.
Thank you.
Congratulations and all that stuff. Yeah, no problem,
thank you, man.
Hey,
Really
Donald, yeah, it's my pleasure. Donald laughed at that dog they called Hillary, but I heard Gorka gets chuckles out of calling rats he sees on the subway Jews. Sorry, I had to do that one. Hey, Judy, I hope Judy Gold is listening because you guys hit the nail on the head. Trump needs love, like parental father figure love. And I think, you know, he said that he likes Kim Jong-un. Like, he's been in the country, great. He's a really smart guy. Now he's, like, taking cues from him, right? And he used that fire and fury comment the other day, and I'm just waiting for him to put Tiffany in front of an anti-aircraft gun. That would be pretty fun, I think. Hey, but the real reason I called.
Yes.
Yes. Get the boars. Hey, Sam, you know America's Lawyer, right?
I do. Yes, Mike Papantonio.
Michael Papantonio. Yes, he needs to represent us. Okay, there's a bunch of people on Twitter, a bunch of people in the Cuck Nation, and we're all getting blocked by Gorka. And I thought that the recent ruling by the federal court that says public officials can't block you online, I thought that just applied to official accounts, but it applies to personal accounts too. And I got blocked by Seb Gorka's official account yesterday, so I've been double gorked. All right, and I feel like I need a redress of grievances with the government, and maybe Mike Papantonio can help out. I just want to throw that out there, or any other libby-lib cucktard lawyers out there that want to help us out.
Somebody's got to be doing that
all.
right now. Somebody has got to be engaged in that. I bet you if you look around Twitter, somebody's engaged in that suit right now, right? I mean, who did that initial ruling? Was it the ACLU?
There was some guy. I don't know if it was like the ACLU helping him, but he was like arguing with like the city council, and somebody banned him from commenting on the Facebook page, and then so it went all the way to some federal court. But anyway, I want someone who's Anyway, I want someone who's like an attention whore though. Like I want like Mark O'Mara or somebody like that. So maybe Nancy Grace or whatever. Or even if they're low profile, then I'll do the press conferences outside of the courthouse like Alex Jones, man.
Why don't you ask Dershowitz to do it?
The Dersh, he's a classical liberal. That's what Right Wing Mandela says on the Twitter. So I think he might be a good choice too.
Josh,
all right, love you guys.
Tremendous.
Right.
Check your IMs. Sam.
Stephen Kettleson. It's your birthday. And so you will get that. How old is he?
He's a member. I don't know how old he is.
Doesn't matter. Over the age of 18. Do we have did you get that song? Yeah, let's play it. We'll play it. It's the
song?
It's their birthday. It's another Fun Half ditty.
Wait, is this Ryan?
Ryan from Ohio. We don't know how it is.
Yeesh. Okay.
Where's your compass, my brother?
What?
That sounds promising. Wait, did you pull that as a sound drop?
I don't think that was the actual one.
Okay.
Was it who?
Compass, my brother.
1, 2, 3, 4.
We're going to take a break. We're going to head into the fun half. We'll take your phone call, 646-257-3920, 646-257-3920.
Hold on, Sam. Hold on. Go ahead, finish your thought.
Okay.
Quit trying to force me to centrally plan liberty.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure I know what that means. No. I know you wouldn't do it.
Hey. Shut up. It's my turn now. You are a madman, Sam. Damn it, Sam. Nobody has all the answers on how freedom works. That's why freedom is so important. I don't know what time the sun will set on June 31st of 2102.
And you're voting out of fear again. Out of fear. Oh, because there might be 2 Supreme Court judges. What if there's 3? What if the moon falls into Lake Michigan?
The sun, the moon, the sun, the moon, the sun, the moon, the sun, the moon.
Fine.
What are we going to do then?
Daryl.
Sam, thank you for saying that, Sam. You're a horrible, despicable person. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, that
was great.
Whew, I haven't laughed that hard since I watched Tim Black get interviewed by a failed comedian.
Folks, go to our website.
That was really
That's
good.
it? Oh, that's great.
That was great.
We're going to play that tomorrow. Or tomorrow is Saturday. That would probably be.
I encourage the some of the Perry sound because we don't often refer to that because it feels a bit bad, but include that in your
You know what we should do? We should start tweeting out these songs. We'll put them up on SoundCloud for now or something, and or Spotify. Can we put those on Spotify?
A harder pull to get on Spotify.
I mean, people should know you can listen to the program on Spotify, not on the not the fun half, but the free show. We should probably start mentioning that a little more. The guest yesterday was on point. I worked for a large federal government contractor for a few years after undergrad, and my experience was exactly what he referenced. I worked alongside federal employees in IT, office of large federal government agency in D.C. My firm had several contracts ranging from a couple of $1,000 to several million, one of which was to write strategic IT plan for the office. Should the government spend a bunch of money to upgrade an IT system? Gee, I wonder. There is some conflict of interest rules in place to prevent blatant self-dealing, but my impression was that it was pretty easy to skirt. In any case, when the consulting firm is writing the strategic plan, of course, they will always recommend more work, more money, hiring more contractors. Nick from Manitoba. Hey, Sam, scary stuff today. On the bright side, if there is a nuclear war, do you think that I could get work off? Because in the event of nuclear war, I don't want to be stuck in the office, but attending to things that are important to me. Being with loved ones and setting up a fallout bunker with my wife can be... Okay. Stay sweet, MR Beauties. Calling from a 203 area code.
Hi, is this me?
Yes, who's this?
This is David, formerly of Japan and now back in New Haven.
David from Japan and New Haven. Yes, what's on your mind?
So just as some women prefer their fashion without the left-wingism, I prefer Judy Gold talking about fucking assholes without her leftist bestism.
Yes. Was she too leftist bestism?
Yeah, it was just too much leftist best. I can't hear about the fucking asshole that Trump is over it.
Well, there you have it.
And I also wanted to say that yesterday's interview was really amazing. And I think that a lot of Americans have a really anti-government sort of thing going on, and I don't know why. But the way that we have to fight that is by arguing about how, quote-unquote, big government can actually do good, do better for people.
I think to be honest with you, that was one of the greatest failures of Obama. Like he went, he was so halfway with that. He was obviously significantly better. I'm just talking rhetorically now. He was significantly better than Bill Clinton was, but he claimed during the campaign that he wanted to be sort of Reagan-esque. And if he had been Reagan-esque in that way, at least from a rhetorical standpoint, he would have made those assertions. There's a sense I think amongst the Democrats, and even just broadly speaking in the left, that you need to back up those assertions as a politician. And I think, the one thing that we've learned with Donald Trump is you don't. You can make assertions, even if your policies don't necessarily fully line up. And, I think the Democrats get a lot more scrutiny about these things than the Republicans do. But you can make assertions about government, and then, maybe your policies don't necessarily always live up to that rhetoric. But that rhetoric is important to set up future generations to actually, execute those policies.
I think that it might also be related to the rise of libertarianism. I mean, in addition to the crazy amount of money that's been funding that.
Well, I mean, look, I think that's a big part of it. There's been a concerted assault against government for the past 30, 40 years now, and it's taking its toll, no doubt.
A quick question.
Yep.
So, say Mueller finds all the evidence in the world of illegal business dealings or even collusion. So, what happens after that? Is there any avenue that goes around Congress? Because I don't know that we can count on them to actually do anything.
I've heard some people make the argument that a sitting president can be indicted. That's never been the case. And I would find it hard to believe that would actually happen. No, you'll need to go through Congress.
So 2018.
2018. Talk to you later.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.
Love the show.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
You are calling, I believe. I don't know exactly where you're calling from, but it is a Skype phone call, I believe. 266. Who's this? Where are you calling from? Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Hello? Young lady? Hello?
Oh, hey.
Hey. Who's this?
Okay, so this is Asante.
Asante, okay. And what's on your mind, Asante?
Just been watching the show and politics in general for ever since that unfortunate thing happened, and it kind of looks like yeah. So it kind of looks like we might be approaching a situation where democracy is kind of basically untenable, like in the United States. I've been checking out that book you guys mentioned not that long ago, Democracy in Chains, and it seems like the people influencing our government are not going to be interested in laying off, even if we get 2018 and 2020 are a huge turnaround. It's those influences aren't going to disappear.
Right.
So I'm kind of just are we just kind of permanently off the rails? Is there really anything to be optimistic about when it comes to the prospect of making sure our rights are ensured, that democracy stays a thing, and all of that?
Well, all I can tell you is that as a general rule, I think it's best to be pessimistic in intellect and optimistic in will. And I don't want to, look, I don't think you really have much of a choice other than to be optimistic, right? I mean, what is the choice? Unless you have a Canadian passport. And in that instance, well, then that's a different conversation. But assuming you don't, I think you've got to be optimistic and hopeful because that's what's going to be the fuel to push back. There's never going to be a time, I think, where it's oh, we've won and good, we can now kick back. I don't think that happens. And I think to the extent that one makes that mistake, you get into situations like this, frankly. And yes, keep your chin up. That's the only thing I can tell you.
I'd recommend Ira Katznelson's book, Fear Itself, about sort of the 1930s and the global descent or move away from democracy. People felt very similarly globally about what was happening to democracy then, and I found it interesting. I find it almost encouraging to read really, really dark histories because then you realize, like, oh, we're just kind of still in... or maybe it's not quite so bad.
I mean, look at what happened in Game of Thrones. I mean, people were like, we're never going to get past this whole dragon thing. And then they did. And then it was, another 1,000 years and the dragons came back.
It's definitely giving Binder a lot more sort of historical context for his thinking. Yeah.
Hang in there. I appreciate the call.
All right, thanks, and I hope you beat those charges for murdering Seth Rich. Bye.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. That was excellent. She did that in a very unassuming way.
She did. She did.
Very dry sense of humor.
Yes.
Calling from a 651 area code. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, good. Hi, this is Mariana from Twin Cities, Minnesota.
Hello, Mariana. You don't know the Chris Lepaco, do you?
No, I always, whenever he talks about protests and stuff, I'm like, I was so close to there, but yeah, no, I'm not close enough. I just say Twin Cities because it's kind of close-ish, but maybe sometime.
Yeah, no, I'm not encouraging it by any means. I'm just asking.
Understandable. Anyways, I don't have a ton to say, but I was just going to kind of talk maybe a little bit about the shooting at the Dar al Farouk Mosque, which was the bombing, sorry, in Bloomington, Minnesota. And it's obvious that this was an anti-Muslim attack, Islamophobic and stuff, but I think something that people who aren't from Minnesota don't necessarily realize is how it's like more than that, because this mosque is actually a community and family center for Somali Americans.
Right.
Like Minnesota, there's been multiple waves of immigration, the biggest one in the 90s when there was the Civil War. So Minnesota has the largest Somali population in the nation, and I mean, being refugee, immigrant, Muslim, and black, there's a lot of discrimination against them.
Right.
Which is kind of ironic because, like, a lot of these Lutheran churches and Catholic churches were the ones that helped get them visas in the first place, and now the same people are complaining. And another reason that some people are kind of angry or distrustful of these mosques is because in Minnesota, they're actually pretty active in social justice spheres. Like, they organize around Black Lives Matter related things for Jamar Clark, for Michael Brown even, though it was down south. And so people who don't like Black Lives Matter are going to dislike these mosques even more. So there's like all those layers of bigotry that layer onto this. So when people talk about how this bombing was Islamophobic, it was, but it's more than that.
Right.
And that's why I was so disturbed by it. I mean, I think it is part of the pushback because most people seem to not be that hateful towards Somali migrants. Most people think they're like a great community and stuff, but they have been getting more visibility. Like, we got the first House of Representatives legislator for Minnesota who is Somali American, and that, for whatever reason, caused some controversy, even though that's like, she's representing those people. That's her district. And Trump had his anti-Somali immigrant speech in November, which like, before that speech, the polling was heavily favoring Clinton. After that speech, it lowered to like a 2-point difference.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I'm not sure how this is going to play out, but I just think that's something that's
People need to be aware of.
important. Yeah, it's even more nefarious than a lot of people realize.
Well, appreciate the call and the perspective. Thanks so much.
No problem. Bye.
Bye. It's a very good point. And of course,
That's really smart.
there was a shooting not too long ago, right? A Somali American police officer.
Oh, yeah, killed a woman from, was she from Australia?
Yes.
Yeah.
And there was a particularly cause celeb in the right-wing circles.
Of course.
Calling from a 724 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Shadow from Butler, Pennsylvania.
What's your name?
And this is Shadow.
Shadow? Welcome to the program.
Yeah.
What's on your mind?
Well, I know it's kind of hard in a week where, the president said that he's going to unleash fire and fury unlike anything the world has seen, but I feel like we do need to shed light on the positives that came out of this week. And that is, if nothing else, the president's scuffling with Mitch McConnell shows us that the reptilians, although they have certainly infiltrated our government in the form of Mitch McConnell, they are no real threat.
Well,
obviously they haven't.
I think it's a little bit early to make that assessment. I think you can enjoy and also be hopeful about the infighting, because the more that they're fighting with each other, the less damage they can do. But I would not count your proverbial chickens before they are hatched. And even then, I would also be concerned about loss of those chickens, some of the chicks as they run around.
Well, I just note that Mitch McConnell, like I didn't believe the conspiracy theories myself to begin with, but Mitch McConnell is obviously some form of reptilian being, just not quite as good at shape shifting as they're cracked up to be.
Right.
And I think he does a decent job mimicking human speech, but again, if he's the best they've got, it's not good enough to infiltrate and do anything.
He does seem like
successful with our government.
It's possible that he got stuck in the middle of the changeling process. I'm not sure what's involved with it.
Neither of you are involved in it yourselves. Maybe I would not be giving commentary on it, you little prick.
I'm not suggesting that you did it wrong, Senator McConnell. I'm just suggesting that it's possible that maybe like...
Oh, do you have an opinion on maybe how my wife should organize her family's heroin business now as well? You got some ideas on shipping routes? Is there other things you'd like to opine on?
As you were changeling, that maybe there was like a power outage or something like that, and you got stuck in the middle.
Look, I've seen Seinfeld. I understand Jew humor. The point I'm making is that you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Neither does Donald Trump.
Well, and for that reason, I find that Donald Trump obviously is not a reptilian himself, or if he even is, that's just even more evidence that if they get into government, they can't even organize successfully to execute whatever their dire plans are for the people of the world.
Reptiles are not social mammals, but I appreciate the call.
I don't want to be sociable.
There you go. Appreciate that.
I just made
mammals.
They're
They're not mammals. No, reptiles.
Yeah, really nailing the biology there. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say animal, but they're not. Are they considered animals? Yes. Because they're reptiles, right? Okay. Calling from a 205 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
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 Hello? Hello?
Hey.
Hey. Hey.
Oh, cool. I'm on. All right. So this is Vegard. I'm calling from Norway.
Ah, okay. Hey, Vega.
And
Norway.
I'd like to say that the fall of the American empire is hilarious.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Thank you for electing Donald Trump. It's the funniest thing that has ever happened.
Well,
they're laughing at us.
It is. You know, sometimes they say spreading laughter is some of the best thing you can do, and so we're trying to help here, and certainly
Exports are going great.
Norway, one of the I think clinically most depressed countries in the world, isn't it, or something like that? Isn't it like dark there?
Yeah, we're all so sad and we only have fish, but
it's
Trump
wonderful.
is leading us to war, so this is funny in a certain sense. So.
There you go. You're welcome.
Yeah, all right. Also, you should have Matt Taibbi on.
Okay. I mean, we've had Matt Taibbi on, but okay.
More, just more.
Just more?
It's very funny.
All right.
Is this
all right? Well,
what's going on?
Wait, what time is it there?
Are we here to make you laugh? I mean, do we amuse you?
Do we fucking amuse you as a country?
Do we amuse you as
Is
a
this
country?
like, oh, so we're a joke?
And
We're like a fuck.
Sebastian Gorka is a bona fide fascist. It's very funny.
Yes.
But he's not a communist.
Right, no, that's it.
Hey, what time is it where you are?
All right, that was it.
Where does your weed
Appreciate
grow
the
in
call.
Norway?
All right, we got to get to some IMs here.
What?
I mean,
see, I knew there
my
was something
experience
else
with
there.
Norwegians has been pretty good so far, but they don't seem to know how to use the phone. Let's go to the IMs. Amcavoy. Will the majority report considering offering bug-out bags for purchase? Get your shit together, guys, and cash in on the apocalypse. Maybe. Chicago Don. A little reminder that Bush was on a working vacation, the longest vacation by a modern president leading up to 9/11. I saw a compilation of Trump statements on North Korea. Even if we don't use nuclear weapons, I think it's unlikely we don't start a war. It's unlikely we do not start a war. So you think it's likely we start a war. He's been in favor of it for decades. The decline in his mental and speaking abilities on just that topic is stunning and disturbing. Yes. Hoagie. Sam, great interview yesterday. Peace in Washington Monthly is really great. Also, anything else going on in the world is really great. To celebrate, I'm going on a really great vacation to a national park in early October. It took me a year to save up, and I'm feeling pretty great about it actually happening, considering there are a whole 12 legislative days in September to avoid a government shutdown. Have you been experiencing frequent uncontrollable swells of sadness and anxiety lately? Me neither. Anyway, have a great weekend. Don't get too nuked. Social Security 666. How long do we give Tom Perez? If we don't regain the House in 2018, does he go? I think so.
I don't give a shit about you.
Your town is next. I take back my complaints about MR videos being preempted by Prager ads. I'd take those back just to never see Michael Moore hawking his whack-ass Broadway show. Salamander Hamilton. Not sure if you've covered this already, but Rahm Emanuel is considering implementing a voucher-like school choice program. What a scumbag.
Rahm Emanuel is one of the worst people in the country.
It would be nice if the Clinton wing of the party, who spend all their time bashing Bernie's loyalty to the party, to put at least the same amount of pressure on policymakers like Rahm, who routinely betray the party's principles for the right policy.
Why would they do that when they have a story to make up about Bernie to help destroy universal health care?
I mean, look, I honestly, I really do think that the proper response to that is to pressure them to do that. To tweet at folks that you perceive as being that way, and rather than making about Bernie, just say, like, will you join me in criticizing Rahm Emanuel's privatization scheme, his Betsy DeVos scheme? Look, I mean, like, part of the problem that I see is that, like, people get hung up on the hypocrisy of these people rather than trying to leverage. I mean, just keep your eyes on the prize here. It's not proving the hypocrisy of these people, because that is irrelevant. Nobody's gonna. It doesn't move anybody.
Oh, yeah,
it's
boxing doesn't
making
matter,
it's
sure.
making the allies of these people, or these nominal allies of these people, or the allies of these people, having to renounce them. That stops them. That stops them. So just, I mean, I'm going a little further than what your comment implies, but you know, that is the problem. Is I mean, I saw a great tweet by Atrios the other day, and I'm butchering it, but it was something to the effect of like, I used to like Nina Turner, and then I found out she likes the new Coke, and now I hate her. You know, it's just like, it's so sort of just tribal and petty. It's a good observation, but the real point is seek those people out, because they're the closest to Rahm Emanuel. And if they abandon Rahm Emanuel and pressure him and are put on the spot, it's going to move everything in the right direction. Gorka is banning people on his new Twitter account already. That is not appropriate. Your take on the Seymour Hersh audio tape talking about Seth Rich? No one in the media is reporting it with a 10-foot pole. It's got to be him on the tape, right? It could be, but Seymour Hersh has publicly said that's ridiculous. And also, be clear that Seymour Hersh has some rather dubious sources as of the past several years on Intel Matters. Friedman McFlurries. Residents of Guam don't get to vote in presidential elections. Doesn't seem fair. Yeah, indeed. Colleen, lately I've been focused on Pence and the way he looks at Trump when he speaks. His expression makes it obvious he's totally in love with him. I don't think so. Libertarian Milk. Stop making fun of Greg. If he wants to starve children, that's his right, and I march for that. Pokemon. Whatever happened to that Jew, Andy Kindler? I miss bap, 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 bap. I need to do a three-way call with Judy Gold. Russell from Texas. Are you accepting Fun Half Remaxes now? Where can I send one? MajorityReporters@gmail.com. Another question. Is Michael Brooks' show a weekly thing or daily? Weekly. Bull Prague.
3 times for members, once for public.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there a cognitive dissonance in those who criticize the use of sanctions as alternative to war, a la Operation Condor, Venezuela, Russia, Iran, Syria, but want to jump on the BDS bandwagon?
No.
Who criticized the use of sanctions as an alternative to war, but want to jump on the BDS? Who are those people?
I think he's saying that, well, people might have differences. People might not want to target certain governments, and that might just be a policy difference.
I'm not sure I even get.
But I'm not opposed to sanctions per se. He thinks he's trying to do a buy your logic thing. It's boring.
Well, first off, BDS is not sanctions.
Yeah, BDS sanctions boycott. Is the third, boycott, divestment sanctions. That's the S.
But there's no sanction policy. It's no.
But the civil society.
Sanction.
Yeah, it is. Of course, it is. It's trying to convince governments to engage in sanctions from a civil society perspective. Yeah, because it's like apartheid in the 80s.
I mean, I think if there was serious deprivation that it caused in Israel, where you had a population that was oppressed by a dictator and didn't have the opportunity to choose its own leaders, or theoretically have control over its own policies, right? And there was deprivation, I think you'd see a lot less support.
If there were kids in Tel Aviv not getting medicine because because it was completely isolated dictatorship, there would be literally everything.
I don't think there's anybody out there who has a problem with sanctions as a principle.
Right.
I think it's like in instances where it punishes the people who have very little self-determination, I think people have a problem with it. But I don't think there's anybody like, on principle, I don't like the idea of sanctions. That seems weird to me. That would be a weird position to hold. Plants on fire. Matt, there are plenty of moments where Trump genuinely laughed at the 2016 Al Smith dinner, including moments where he's laughing at his jokes at his own expense. Also, in retrospect, that dinner was one of the most fitting moments of the campaign. It showed Trump offending the sensibilities of elites in the room while Clinton looked extremely comfortable. All right. We're going to... Folks, I got no more time for calls. I apologize. I'll do 6 more IMs. Nelly Girl. Greg could write a book with the fired Google memo writer. Kate from upstate. A little bit of Michael goes a long way. Glad he has his own show now, and I wish he'd save his lengthy mimics for then.
I hope you die, Kate from upstate.
Fred, my muse. Hey, everyone. Dems need their own wedge issues. For the older, more pigmentally challenged Americans who may hate darkies but hate the thought of nursing home even more, nationalizing, expanding the VA while rolling in Meals on Wheels and creating a home health attendant department to allow them to live longer. Policy that repeals the pallet tool. Okay, thinking about your guest yesterday, if 60% of Medicaid is elderly care, exactly how much waste is in the nursing home industry? Any per capita cap Medicaid scheme elder care will never be what's cut back on. Okay. Left is best. Bernie would have won, no longer super hyperpower. Jeffrey Lord may be a Nazi, but he's not a communist. A Baskin. I love Judy Day. Not safe to drink. Just debut the perfect metaphor for dumb left. They're obsessed with punching farts. Think about it. What started as a parenting guide turned into something more. If there's a line, I'd say that's it. The Red Telephone. One of my favorite interviews past year was with Stephen Kinzer. I recommend your listeners revisit his book, The True Flag, to brush up on the history of American intervention, specifically the debates and treaties that resulted in the U.S. acquiring various colonies from Spain, including Guam. Guam, which is provided with one non-voting delegate to the House of Representatives, allowed 0 electoral votes. The people of Guam had no choice in the selection of the current U.S. president. Indeed. Dave. Kelly, I appreciate your comments regarding the seriousness of the use of nuclear weapons. Jorge the Bad Hombre, Central California farming suffering and a shortage of farm laborers. I think the Times had an article about it a few months ago. Yeah, I saw there was actually a report today. $13 million worth of losses so far, maybe more coming. And the final IM of the week. Heather, well, this will not be the final one because we need to say something afterwards. I finally convinced my fiance, Jason, to start listening to the show, and now he's a dedicated listener. Today is his 25th birthday. Can I get a right-wing Mandela to wish him a happy birthday?
Happy birthday, Jason. I hope you will go get yourself a dance from Josh's mom.
And now the genuinely final IM of the day. Isn't Woody Johnson one of Trump's biggest donors? Johnson, of course, is the biggest manufacturer of fentanyl. Of course, it's going to be user and not manufacturer-based policy. By the way, I was looking at Everytown for gun safety a few years back, and all the policy was based on law enforcement targeting users as opposed to taking on manufacturers. Liberals need to get serious about rejecting policy that harms people so that business is spared from regulation. You're a madman voting for a moon in Lake Michigan. That's why freedom is so important. Have a great weekend. And by the way, to Mike of Pennsylvania, there's less than 5% of people who think that government will fail every time at doing good for people. There's a sizable minority, about 20%, that distrust government to do what's in the people's interest. Democracy and Change is a very optimistic book. It's simply naming the problem. All right, folks. See you next week.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want.